Okay, so yes, thank you for doing this. This is my first pod of the year.
Woo!
Um, so yeah, Happy New Year. And
Yes, I'm happy to be here. It's been so long. It's been so long.
yeah, I think the last time we actually met in person was at a London Lightning game in downtown London.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
It was just in passing. I
It
just
was
said
in
hi, how are you?
passing, and then there was another time where we randomly found ourselves on the same bus from Kitchener.
I remember that. Yeah, we were
Yeah,
coming from Kitchener to London.
yeah,
I don't know. I think I must have been in first or second year, so it would have been 2012-ish, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And then the London. When was the game? That would have been. Oh gosh, I don't know the last.
I want to say 2015-ish.
You're probably right. Yeah, my dad absolutely loves basketball now. It's so funny because he never got into basketball until after I left and moved to
Hmm.
Toronto. So it was like a kind of a bit of a shock when I went back home, and all he's talking about is all the basketball teams and the statistics and all that. Anyway, kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, this year is pretty crazy for the NBA because the Toronto Raptors are not allowed to play in Toronto, so they've moved to Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
So, and they have a shortened season. Plus, if someone gets COVID test, someone fails a COVID test, then they postpone games because the games get canceled. So it's kind of all over the place.
Oh yeah. And
And
all of the funny
yeah,
kind of like, well, I guess they used to be cardboard cutouts, but now they're like actual people streaming from home, spectators watching
yeah,
the game, which is so weird. I mean, it's cool that they do that, but it's also just very bizarre. I don't
yeah. They
know.
had that set up for the playoffs, which ended a few months ago.
Yeah.
Um, but now I think every team has their own home stadium, but most of the teams are banning fans from entering.
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't watched any games because I don't have the cable channel. But yeah, I see
Yeah.
the highlights and yeah.
Yeah. I like basketball, but I don't keep up on sports at all. So I'm like, oh yeah, they're playing. Great. I'll watch it when it's, relatively convenient and just on, but I don't have cable either, so it's not something that I like seek out.
So you mentioned you've been streaming a lot. What are the shows going on right now for you?
Oh gosh. I just binged Bridgerton, that
Okay.
new period piece on Netflix. I was watching Ratchet for a while, and then I came across, well, I say a while. I watched 4 episodes, and the fourth episode freaked me out so much I thought I had to like take a step back. But mostly like I'm actually watching Critical Role episodes, D&D on YouTube. Um, which I don't know if you know anything about Critical Role,
No.
but essentially it is a bunch of voice actor friends who've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for many, many years. And I guess 4 or something years ago, they decided that they'd just start streaming it. And like, it's really fun. I love it. Kind of like I actually started playing D&D with a couple friends of mine a couple months ago. And like, that's kind of reinvigorated my ability to hang out with friends and just creative kind of stuff. Um, what else have I got going on here? I have been watching. Oh, I picked up The Man in the High Castle, um, which
Oh.
is fantastic. I That's my favorite book by Philip. Wow, Philip K. Dick, and the show is insane. And I also started watching Superstore, which is,
Oh, I've heard about that.
yeah, it's ridiculous. It's fun. Yeah. Just kind of a similar vein to like The Office or Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that kind of comedy, workplace stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of Man in the High Castle. I haven't seen it. It's on Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've watched the Adjustment Bureau, the movie, which is
Okay.
also
Yeah.
Philip K. Dick, based on I think it's based on a short story, The Adjustment Team,
Okay.
and I know they also have Electric Dreams on Prime, which is also like an anthology version of it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I've been staying away from binging shows, so my list keeps growing because I tend not to watch two or three shows at a time.
That's fair. I
And
am notorious for doing that. Like it's kind of bad. I put off so many things because I'm just, oh no, gotta
yeah,
watch this one. I'm way too into it. But I don't know. I guess I've reached that point where I'm like, you know what? There's nothing else to do. Let's just watch a whole bunch of stuff.
actually, I say I don't binge, but with my family, we've been watching the Great Canadian Baking Show on Netflix.
I haven't watched. Is it on Netflix? Really?
Yeah, all three seasons are on Netflix.
Okay, I didn't know that. I love cooking shows. Is it good? Is it like? Did you ever watch
It's
the Great British Bake Off, GBB or whatever the heck it's called?
no, but I know that's what this show is based on. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, in the Canadian version, there's no prize, and all they win is a cake plate. So
Really?
yeah, so it's really funny at the end of the each season, the judges and the hosts are there, and
Yeah.
there's like the judge is just he's just holding a plate like this, and that's the prize. So they just give the prize to the.
Can it be made out of like the most precious jewel at the time or something at least? Like a plate. I
Okay.
mean, I guess if baking's your thing, then that's praise enough. Hey, I went on this show and I won, but still that's kind of funny.
The show is really good though because so the way it's set up is there are 8 weeks, 10
Okay.
contestants at the start, and every week one contestant is eliminated
Yeah.
until there are three remaining in the last week.
Oh,
So each week, every contestant has three challenges, which are done on 3 days. They have
yeah.
names. I just call the first one because I don't remember.
That's fair.
And the second one is a technical challenge where they're given an incomplete recipe, all of them, and they have to make the same thing and see who
Oh,
can do it technically the best. And the third one they call the showstopper, which is like their showstopper, I guess. It's like a big thing, and
sure. Like their signature thing, or do they still have to
yeah.
follow within parameters?
Yeah, it's the signature thing, but there's a theme for each week. Like one week is bread week, so they have to make a bread showstopper. And then
Okay,
they
got
have
it.
like a French week, a Canadian week, stuff like that.
Oh
Um,
man, I love cooking, but
but
I would suck at that.
yeah, the best part is just watching with my family because whenever we watch competition shows, whatever happens is you always root for someone and then you just start hating somebody. And
It's always the way
so,
with there's someone who
so
always gets in your nerve and everything that comes out of their face, you're just like, can I punch you, please? Like, please stop.
you sound like my sister because there was one contestant and my sister kept saying like, oh, why does she have to cry all the time?
Oh no. Yeah. It gets a little bit much at a certain point.
But
Oh,
yeah, with all that, it's just like engaging. It's just like you got to keep watching to see who's gonna win.
well, exactly. I mean, you're invested at a certain point. It probably takes like what, half an episode, and you're like, okay. And you've got your favorites. You have to pick one. Do you guys do like a lottery or something too within your family to to try and figure out who might win?
No, my sister always looks up who won that season because they're already complete.
Cheats. Oh no, come
Yeah,
on, man. That's half the
but
fun. Oh well, that's fair.
we would tell her don't tell us, so she's pretty good. She doesn't tell us,
Okay, that's good.
and we don't. But she doesn't look at it week by week. So every week until the finale, we're always like, oh, she's definitely gonna go. How is he still here? He should have been out like
Right.
3 weeks ago. What
Right.
is going on?
I get it. Yeah. I don't know. There's something about those competition shows which are really stupid, but you also have to appreciate all the work that people do and like the effort that they put into it. Like some people get so into it, it's insane. But I don't know. It's good fun. Like I have a couple of friends who kind of hate on the whole idea of competition shows, regardless of what it is. But at the
Yeah,
same time, it's just like, look, it's mindless. Just enjoy it. Like whatever, no big deal.
yeah, yeah. So there's that, and then I'm ready for the MCU show WandaVision, which is coming out tomorrow.
I have not heard of that at all.
Okay.
What's the deal?
Have you watched any of the Marvel movies?
I've seen a few. I, for some reason, haven't like invested a whole lot of time into watching Marvel, but I really enjoy it. So do explain.
Yeah, so far they have a universe. So they have released 23 movies which tell their own story, and within them each movie is its own story.
And they connect,
And
right?
yeah, so that's as far as I know, those are all produced by Marvel Studios.
Got
So
it.
WandaVision is Marvel Studios going into TV. So it's coming out on Disney Plus, and I think it deals with after the movies. So
Right.
they're
Okay.
starting new storylines, new characters. Um,
So remind
but
me, is
yeah,
Infinity War the last movie that came out for that kind of main series, and then they're continuing on from there, or am I forgetting one?
yeah, Infinity War was the last movie to complete like the story
Yeah.
of the first 22, and then they also had the latest Spider-Man movie, which came out after that, I think.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
No,
but
they're
I
great
don't know.
movies.
I'm
Right.
just excited because you always gotta you there's always that one show that you're really excited for. And I've just intentionally chosen this one because otherwise I'll get hyped for too many shows and I can't watch them all at once.
There's so many.
So
It's ridiculous how quickly they're
yeah,
pumping all of this stuff out. And I mean, it's great that we can access a lot of it, but it's also kind of insane. So that's probably a good choice, sticking to the one and just riding it
yeah.
out. Yeah. No, I hear you.
But it's funny, back in the day, like in high school, shows would be on TV and you'd have to wait every week for a new episode.
I
Then
know.
Netflix and Prime and other sources came on and you could just binge them all at once.
Yeah.
But now Disney Plus, they're going back to the old formula where they're just like, we're going to release an episode a week.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. Like it's forcing people to wait and it's building that suspense. Like I think there's a part of watching shows when it's that format that kind of adds to the enjoyment because you have that whole week or however long it is to kind of talk with your friends and, theorize about what might
Yeah.
happen. Like that's how I was watching Breaking Bad when it first came out. I think it had come out the year before I started watching, and then it was that. And so Breaking Bad was one of the shows that I would point to as one of my favorites for quite a long time because you would sit there and discuss with people. And
Yeah.
like that's the problem with binging is okay, you get the resolution right away, which is sometimes really satisfying, but then it can be also the opposite because you're just like, oh, okay, well that's done. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why I try not to binge because
Yeah.
the ride is amazing because you just want to watch the next one, but
Yeah.
then a week later you don't even know what happened.
Well,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Because you just like you're breezing through it. You don't have the time to think about all the details or whatever. Like that's kind of, so I'm binging Critical Role right now, but it's still ongoing. And so, essentially at this point, I'm just binging it to be able to get to that week to week because I want to be able to think
uh,
about it and have something to look forward to, because it's way too easy now to, okay, next episode, no big deal. Like, if it's available, then why would you worry about controlling yourself to wait another day, even? Like, forget a
mhm.
week, another day to watch the next episode. So I don't know. It is what it is, but it's smart of Disney to do that because,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's I mean, it's there's not much to do when you have to stay at home. You can't go out, and you just got to
yeah.
watch a bunch of shows.
Well,
And
that's the other side of it.
it's that time of year. It's like, I mean, this winter has been pretty warm, but usually it's pretty cold now. So you're just waiting until the end of February.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I guess that's the
yeah,
thing. Allowing yourself to binge stuff or forcing yourself, or not even forcing, but just like choosing to do other things in this kind of day and age where most of us are glued to a screen, but okay, there's nothing else that we can do. We can't go out and enjoy the stuff that we probably would be spending our time doing if we weren't stuck inside. So, okay, do you just like succumb or do you try other things? And like, I guess that's why everyone was having that baking bread hobby for so long
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Just go on
Yeah.
the analog side of things. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep busy. I mean, I was running outside. I'm still trying to do it once a week. This
Yeah.
month I'm doing a plank challenge with my friends.
Oh,
See, over the course of January, who can accumulate the most plank hours.
oh my God.
So yesterday, I really pushed myself. I almost did cumulative 10 minutes, not all at once though.
Not
So
too
I was
bad.
feeling pretty good.
That's pretty
But I
good.
saw one of my friends doubled that, and I was really sad.
Oh no! How do you do 20 minutes of plank? That's just insane, man. Come on.
Like this girl, she's a savage. Like
She
this is
really
the
wants that win. She really wants it. Are you
well,
guys
this is
doing
the
it for any sort of prize or just kind of for gratification?
well after so this is the third challenge I've done with the same group of people. So
Okay.
after each challenge, I write a blog post on my website, and in the first one we did what is it? A running challenge.
Hmm.
So this girl, she also killed it. She doubled basically both of me and my friend,
Okay.
and she just wanted to. So in the first challenge, it was me, my friend, and his girlfriend,
Hmm.
and he told her, you know, he bet her that she couldn't double what he did, so she did.
Of course she did.
And so yeah, I gave her the nickname the Soul Crusher in my blog post.
Awesome.
So for me, the joy is to see whoever loses and just give them great names,
Yep,
but there's no prize money.
that's fair. We don't have any money right now anyway, so just make and
I,
do,
f-
right?
I feel like I should get a cake plate made and just present it.
Get it engraved or just like I don't know, permanent marker on it. The fancy athletics challenges of 2020 and 2021. Are you
It'll
going to
just
keep
say
it
the
up?
Soul Crusher wins again.
Exactly. Yeah. And then every time the next person wins, you have to write that person's name on it and pass it off to them until it's covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Masking tape.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's keeping me busy, but it hurts. Like everything hurts when you do a plank.
Yeah. I am familiar. It's been a long time since I've been forced to do a plank and I would never do it willingly. So good on you for for joining in that challenge with your friends. Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not been keeping up on the fitness at all during this pandemic. I've been quite lazy. I keep thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to start off my mornings with the yoga or stretching or something, and it never
Mm.
happens. I don't know. I'm a very lazy person. I would rather sit on my couch, but
Mm.
I should do something.
Well, I mean that's sitting is underrated. Like if you can sit cross-legged comfortably, I can't even do that. So I'm working my way to do that.
Yep, there you go. Got to get that flexibility and get that hip, that hip
Yeah.
flexibility, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you don't exercise much because you're unsure about saying hip flexibility.
It's been a long time since I've had to, pay attention to the muscle groups and all that jazz.
Yeah.
No, which is ironic because I mean, I like my mom owns a dance studio. I danced for the first 18 years of my life, but then I moved and it's like, oh wait, exercise. What's that thing? I don't have to do it anymore.
Mhm.
Oh well.
So dance, was that more of a like a discipline thing? Like you have to do it, got to go every week or whatever?
Yes and no. Well, I mean, like I chose to do it. It's not as
Oh,
though
okay.
someone was, sitting there at knife point forcing me to do it, but kind of when I was younger, my parents more so gave me options of what I could spend my extracurriculars doing rather than, hey, the world is open to you, like pick whatever you want. Like when I was a kid, I would have loved to have done horseback riding, but it was a very expensive thing. So, of course, my parents
Mm.
weren't going to let me do it. And it just, I would do things like gymnastics and skiing and swimming and all that kind of stuff. But at some point when it was like, okay, well, you could take this to kind of the next level of involvement with this, my parents would say, well, would you rather do that or continue with dance? So I ended up continuing to choose dance. And, I did competitive stuff from quite a young age. Like it was easy for me to be doing that because my mom owned the dance studio. And so, it just kind of made sense, like in a lot of ways. And I did really love it. Like it was a lot of fun. And um, so, yeah, like I don't know, like it's something that I would do probably 6 out of 7 days of the week, like in
Um,
evenings or on the day. Yeah, just because of the competitive aspect involved you having to do your regular classes plus the choreography classes where you're rehearsing the same routines for competition. Um, so yeah, like essentially it was for many years I had my life planned out almost hour by hour because of all this extra stuff that I was doing. And then I think, moving away to university and kind of having more of that freedom, I was like, oh, I have free time now. And I just didn't really hang on to doing something like that. I did take a couple courses of just doing ballet classes a few years ago, but I haven't kind of picked it up back since then. Um, so I don't know, it's just kind of fallen off the bandwagon. I probably would get back into it um, if and when this pandemic lifts, but for now,
mhm,
I guess it's just not something that's been, you know, that much of a craving for me, if that makes sense. I don't know.
mhm.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one semester during my bachelor's, I took a ballroom dancing class.
That must have been a lot of fun.
I wouldn't say it was fun, but
There.
I just did it because I felt like I should do something different,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
did. And I don't really remember much about it, but that's the experience I have with dance.
That's
Um,
fair. There's so much, when it comes to dance too. I find ballroom dancing can be really hard as well, like depending on what
you
you're
have
doing.
to like you have to stand
But
shoulders
you got your frame
back.
and you have to like move within a certain square of space and yeah, exactly.
And I hunch over when I'm regular, so that was really hard. It's like, how do you just stay here? It hurts, you
Oh,
know?
I know. I actually had an oh shit moment this summer for that exact reason because I also hunched forward. And it's something that
Yeah.
I never really thought about. But my mom would always say, oh, yeah, you have rounded shoulders, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. And for some reason, this summer, I was at a cottage and I was just probably, I, had a couple drinks or whatever and was dancing around like an idiot because that's what I do. And I moved my body in such a way that I pulled my shoulders back. And I think I was in front of probably a reflective surface or a window or something. And I saw the difference. And I was like, oh, that's what, dancer posture looks like. And I'm sitting
Yeah.
here going, oh, if I didn't just, move my body this way years ago, I would never have had round shoulders and I would have had a lot better posture. But no. And I sat there for like a month trying to fix my posture until I started getting really, really sore back all the time. And so I
Yeah.
stopped. And so now I have horrible posture again. So it goes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something that you only realize when you're older, looking back, like because I have run a lot over the years since high school, so basically half my life I've been running pretty regularly,
Yeah.
and so I did track and field in high school, so it was a lot of sprints, and
Mm,
I think over time it's just the just like trying to get your legs to move faster and faster without proper stretching and maintenance. That
right.
my legs, the back of my legs are so stiff, it like affects my posture. I can't sit for too long without something hurting.
Yeah. It's not fun.
So so the point is, um, let's see, maybe like 4 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm gonna fix my posture. Maybe it'll take a year, and it's
Yeah.
been 4 years, and it's just so hard to teach your body all over again how to do things properly because it doesn't want to change.
Well, exactly. Especially at this point, like it's not just, getting into a habit, but it's just like literal muscle memory from you having done it your entire life. So trying to untrain that after so long is it's not going to be easy. Like you see all those ads and things about I don't know if this is common. I don't know why, but I get a lot of posture ads for like these like almost corset looking things that are helped, supposed to designed to help you fix your posture. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, it's great. You strap on this thing and it's supposed to help you fix your back and muscles and all that kind of stuff. But as soon as you take it off, of course you're going to go back to what it was because that's what's comfortable. It hurts after a certain point of time. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I mean I've learned a lot. So in my opinion, so the key is you got to have a daily routine of, for me it's yoga postures, or this month it's a plank.
Yep.
Uh, then you got to know what foods are gonna help you maintain or improve flexibility, and what are gonna make it harder.
Are there different
So,
foods that help with that? I don't think I even knew about that.
well, one night I ate I don't know what it's called, a thing of steamed broccoli with some ghee, which is a clarified butter, some salt, and I think some lime juice. And I ate the whole thing, and I had all this plank pain basically.
Really
And within an hour and a half, I was feeling amazing. So,
weird.
so I have learned that broccoli is magical. Um,
Broccoli's the best, man. People who don't like broccoli are missing out.
so that's what I mean. Like, that's just one example where one food will, you know, help your body to maintain flexibility.
Yeah.
But but it's not so easy to know what foods will make it worse because you don't really notice it right away. Like
Yeah.
if I eat a pizza, I'll feel great, and then I'll feel really sluggish. But in the next morning, I might be more stiff.
Interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like your body gets affected by so many things in ways that
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect. But thinking about it from that perspective is like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. So there's that. Hot baths, cold baths. I haven't done the cold bath yet because it's cold.
Yeah, especially right now, I feel like you'd want to avoid anything cold if you can. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that. And I guess you're not working now, or are you?
I am very lucky to be working. So I actually work at BMO right now, which is weird. I never thought I'd work for a bank or, a large corporation, but now I got my double whammy.
Okay.
It's a work from home position where essentially I'm a liaison between the user and technical support teams for people who, had an issue and it wasn't fixed
Uh,
properly. Um, so it's basically just me sending emails back and forth between the two sides. It's not terribly exciting, but it keeps me employed, so I'm okay
hmm,
with it. But right now it's quite slow.
right.
Essentially, like my team each covers a different region in the country, and I just have the one region, and it's not a very busy one. So right now it's kind of quiet, which is nice. Means I get to spend my day just hanging out and comfy things and doing whatever for the most part.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, how about you? Are you working right now?
No, I was at Fanshawe College until the end of 2019.
Yeah,
So I was going through interviews last year in 2020, and then March with the pandemic and everything slowed down.
yeah,
So it's bad timing, but I had an interview last week, so hopefully things pick up again.
yeah, yeah. What kind of things are you looking out for?
So yeah, I did my bachelor's in engineering
Yep.
at Fanshawe. I did something to build on that, which is electronics and embedded programming.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's like writing code for things like cars or thermostats, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So looking to do something with that, but it's really tough because all the ads I see are for people with 5 or 10 years experience.
It's always,
So
right? Hey, you need 10
there,
years of experience for this entry level job, or even if it's not entry level, but it's just
yeah,
right now not easy. Well, I feel for you, man. I'm sure you'll get something soon.
yeah,
All
I hope so. Definitely with whenever this pandemic comes to an end, I'm sure I hope things will pick up because employers will be less picky on how much experience they want. Because
right,
my guess is they want to hire a lot to expand, and
right.
at that point, they'll be willing to train people, which is kind of what I'm looking for. Is like, tell me what to do, teach me whatever you want.
Yeah,
But it
exactly.
seems like right now they're looking for this is exactly what we want. We want you to do this. If you don't have this, then we don't want you.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense. I mean, like I actually, so because of the pandemic, I still have the same boss, but my role shifted entirely to what it is now from something else. Because my previous role was reliant on travel. Like essentially, it was still in that support vein, but I was kind of like a coordinator for tech guys going on site to branches and fixing problems. And like training in this new job, not being able to sit next to someone was really tough. So
Mm.
I totally get why you're probably struggling with finding a place that wants to actively train people. Because, like, it's so much easier to just sit next to someone and watch what they do. But,
Yeah.
like, there's nothing you can do. Like, bad timing, but also none of us could have known that this was coming. So, you know, just got to make it through this stretch, and then when things are back to whatever normal becomes, then there you go. It should be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but other than that, I mean, before that, there's not much you can
Yeah.
do, but just chill out.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Enjoy your
so like,
time.
so what are you? How are you keeping busy, or are you only streaming all day every day?
Oh god, I'm doing that way too much, that's for sure. um yeah, I mean, I should be doing more than I have been. I think I don't know, I'm not really doing a whole lot. Like I try and be creative however I can. Like
Mm.
I'll write something every now and then just for myself, nothing that really ever turns into anything, or like, every now and then I make, videos for YouTube or whatever. I like to draw. So I try and do that kind of creative stuff, but it kind of more so feels like things are just the same day in, day out, which is not fun. And I think because I've been streaming this thing with the sort of goal, quote unquote, to get to real time, that is in a not super helpful way for me taking up all my time is something I've been thinking about a lot, but I don't know. I guess because there's nothing else to do, I'm not as bothered by it than maybe I should be, or not as worried about it. But yeah, like try and go outside as, when I can. And I'd love to go to a cottage somewhere and just enjoy being in a winter wonderland somewhere. But for the most part, it's just kind of staying on my own, which is okay. I'm not too bothered by it. I know it's, pretty difficult for some people, but I enjoy my own company well enough, so that's all right. But I don't know. I mostly miss going to medieval times because, like,
Oh yeah.
that was kind of my release, Like, I don't really do much acting anymore, but that was my way to be creative on a weekly basis. And it's ironic because we got into lockdown the week before March break, which for us is insanely busy. And then,
Oh.
there's been nothing. And like when it comes to like me talking about not doing exercise, like my main exercise for the last couple of years has been horseback riding, because we do also have to go in for regular horseback riding lessons when we're in the castle and doing shifts regularly for our own safety and stuff. Because when I enter the arena, I enter on a horse, and even though it's just walking, you have to be prepared. So they teach us how to do other stuff. And yeah, like I just kind of can't wait, honestly, for that mostly. Getting out of quarantine, that's what I want to get back to. But, it's been otherwise just me and me in my place on my couch mostly. Yeah.
Mm.
How about you?
Yeah. So
Oh,
It,
sorry.
well, I was gonna say, how is Medieval Times doing? Because I'm that it means they haven't had any customers for the last 10 months. So I
Yeah, so I
mean, it's
mean, like I didn't know this until I started working there. It's actually the Toronto spot is one of 10 locations. Most of the like all
oh,
the rest of them are in the States. And I think there's four castles open right now. I don't know if that's changed at all, but my understanding is that there's four open. And like the company's open by or sorry, company's owned by a if I'm remembering this correctly, awesome. If I'm not, medieval times don't come for me. Um, a Spanish wealthy family who owns horses, and they own a specific type of breed of horse called an Andalusian, which would have been used by knights back in the day. And I think they just made the decision one day, hey, like we've got all these horses, we want to keep breeding them, but it doesn't make sense to keep breeding them without a purpose. So let's try and do something. And then they created medieval times. So as it goes in Toronto right now and all the other place locations that are still closed, they have essential staff in primarily around taking care of the animals. Because in Toronto, I believe there's 28 horses and there's four falcons. So it's mostly the people who go in to take care of and continue to work the animals and fly them and have them exercising. And then I think like main management, like my boss, who's essentially the boss of all the cast, not the knights. Technically, that's a separate department, which is weird. But anyway, he's laid off. Um,
mm,
so it's pretty much I'm thinking like marketing people,
mm,
and then those who take care of the animals. So there's like a core amount of staff in order to kind of keep it going until we're ready to reopen. But aside from that, everyone's at home doing their own thing. So, it's kind of, nice to know that when things are back, we can just hopefully jump back into it relatively so. I think they're going to probably keep some permanent measures, but yeah, I don't know.
well, I mean, I hope so. I hope they stay in business because I've seen just around London. So I'm in London right now.
Yeah.
Here and there, stores are just closed randomly all of a sudden.
I
So
know. I mean,
it's 10 months in since this whole thing started. So, I mean,
yeah.
if you're not closed now, I don't know, you're probably going to close soon. Some businesses at least.
Well, exactly. Like the people who are like restaurants, okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll keep the takeout open, but you still have to employ the people to do the takeout runs, which,
Yeah.
how many people want to allow themselves that risk? I don't know. It's tough. Like, just, okay, when you actually end up going out and exploring whatever that may look like. All right, well, that one we used to be open and that's an empty storefront now. Like, it's sad, it's scary, but
Yeah. And,
yes.
one thing someone told me is so for food delivery apps, you have Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, and Uber Eats.
Mhm.
And someone who works at a restaurant or did work at a restaurant told me, they didn't like Uber Eats because they charge the 30%. Like, how does it work? I think they take 30% of the cut.
Okay.
So if you, okay, I'm not even remembering correctly anymore. So
That's
forget what I said.
all good. But
Yeah.
no, like that's like if you're working in an already probably minimum wage job that the company takes a portion of your wages because the customer used that service, it's bullshit. It's like, come on. Like people are already struggling. I don't
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But it's tough because what can you do if you're not cooking, then you gotta get food from outside, but you can't go outside, so you got to get it somehow. So
But
you
yeah.
have to rely on the app.
Oh, totally. Like, I don't know. One day, one day, they will figure their shit out and pay their workers the full amount. I I don't know
Mm.
how that would work, but whatever.
So are you cooking or do you get takeout?
I cook most of the time. I have been ordering takeout more, mostly because I can't make ramen myself.
Mm.
But yeah, I do cook. I actually, funnily enough, in the earlier months of the pandemic, was like, okay, I've been making the same stuff over and over again. Let's look at recipe books. So I went on Indigo, the website,
Mm.
and I ended up buying a whole bunch of like nerdy themed cookbooks. Like I now have a Skyrim themed cookbook and something that's based on Lord of the Rings and stuff like this because I eat like a hobbit anyways. So I just thought, hey, this is kind of fun. It's unique and it's related to a thing I like. And I've made a few recipes. They're good, but that's just it. Like I am notorious for not knowing how to cook for one person, and because I live on my own,
Ah.
I make a whole bunch of shit, and my freezer is absolutely tiny. So I should probably just get another mini freezer on the side to be able to put all my stuff so I can make, a normal amount of food based on these recipes and, keep it for later, but that doesn't happen. So instead I just have the same food for days in a row, which
Wow.
yeah, it is what it is, but I do love
You
to
have
cook. So
you have the opposite problem that I have, which
oh,
is
yeah.
I can basically cook for one.
Hmm.
And if you ask me to, even coffee, like I know how to make coffee for one, but if you ask me to make coffee for you, this just happened yesterday. My sister asked, so I ended up making coffee for three instead of two. So I had to drink twice the amount of coffee.
Oh no, got the bean
So,
jitters. Yeah.
yeah,
No,
no.
I guess I'm destined to either be some kind of like cook at an estate or always have leftovers. I'm also like I am the person that my friends make fun of for constantly taking my leftovers. Even if it's part of a salad, I will take it and I will keep it because I do not want to waste the food. So
Mm,
I will have leftovers for a ridiculous amount of time because I just don't feel good about doing away with it. So
okay.
it's not a good, you know, thing to have for someone who always makes too much food. But there you go.
Mm, yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I joined your YouTube live stream a while back. I think you were playing a game.
It was
Um,
probably either Skyrim or The Witcher. Maybe it was Animal Crossing because I've been playing that a lot. Yeah.
so like how do you do that? Because I mean, I do these things, which are like podcast episodes, but I'm always talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And I also upload little videos here and there where I'm just recording myself, whether it's in the car or walking around,
Yeah.
usually with somebody else. And then I just edit it together and make a 5 to 10 minute
Right.
video.
Yeah.
But there's something about going on for hours just talking without someone there, but someone is listening and watching. But
Yeah.
it's just I don't get it.
Kind of a weird concept. I know. It's bizarre. See, the thing is, I will go through phases of streaming a lot and then not streaming for months. So it's kind of something that takes a bit to get back into when you do it. Like I usually stream on Twitch, or I've been trying to usually stream on Twitch when I do. Um, Regardless, it's the same wherever you stream.
Hmm.
But I guess like the thing is, I have a lot of people who follow me on YouTube. Ironically, because years ago I made a YouTube video that was talking about Skyrim and how much I enjoyed it because I had just recently started playing, even though it had been out for many years. And a girl who, I'm friends with on Twitter, she found the video, and anytime someone tweeted about Skyrim, she would tweet my video at them. So I had a lot of people come and follow me based on that who saw that video and were like, oh, cool. And I think because of that kind of niche accidental thing, I've made a few online, only know their username kind of friends that
Oh.
I recognize them, or like I remember little facts about them. And so there generally tends to be at least one of those people who joins most of my streams, which kind of helps to kind of keep that going. But I don't know. I guess I ask a lot of questions. I'm not the kind of streamer that just, for the most part, talks about random shit. Like, I know you see a lot of things on Twitch or whatever where people are just talking about random stuff and they're not paying attention to whoever's in the comments. For me, I probably wouldn't stream if it wasn't for the people watching, because I'm thinking, oh, it'd be nice to like have company right now. Let's play a game and stream at the same time. That way I can have some kind of conversation, but it's not, I'm not beholden to try and speak. Because sometimes it's just people commenting back and forth at each other, and I'm just kind of there and I'll like make my own thoughts or whatever. But it is a weird thing. Like, I'm kind of surprised that it's not more awkward than I do find it most of the time. But I guess because there is a slight rapport and because people maybe recognize one another when they join, that might help with the flow of things. I don't know. It's a bizarre concept though. Like, I don't watch people stream really. So the fact that I do it and people watch me is just kind of a weird irony, bizarre thing that happens. I don't know.
Yeah, that is strange. It's huh.
I don't even think I have like a reason for it, but yeah, like it was kind of started by this really stupid video that I made about Skyrim that I really enjoyed, which ironically, I was actually contacted by Bethesda, the people who created
Oh,
Skyrim, when they were doing like a 10th anniversary of Skyrim thing, because they wanted to use like a part of that video in some other video that they were doing. It was literally half a second, but then I had people at Evil Times come up to me and be like, "Yeah, so Skyrim changed your life, huh?" Great. You saw that, did you? Like it, yeah, it's just a bizarre thing. But who knows how all this stuff works on the internet. I think the whole thing is bizarre, but it's fun at the same time.
yeah, that's the most interesting thing is that uh, what you can do on the internet has come so far in like 15 years
Oh yeah.
that I just think back to being in high school, just starting high school. Facebook was the big thing.
Hmm.
And I mean, I used to have a PSP, like a PlayStation Portable.
Yeah.
And whenever you couldn't even stream videos on there because the Flash player wouldn't support it.
Right.
And like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's still in the infancy as far as streaming and all that. I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, you see some people online getting called out for things they said, like maybe it was like an offhand comment from like 10 years ago or five
Yeah.
years ago in a video. And with 10 years from now, will the algorithms be smart enough to find that on their own? So as a user, you don't have to go through hundreds of hours. You just employ the algorithm, find what you want, make an edit of all the terrible things a person has said.
Right. Well, I mean, like another just really stupid part of that bothers me, and I get it. I absolutely get it. But like, once you put something up on the internet, it could be from 12 years ago, but you're allowed to change and grow as a human. So you might have had a stupid opinion, but for people to call you out so many years later when you've revised yourself and figured out different things than you would have known back then, or just like learned and grown as a person and gone through shit, like it's it's so shitty for people to do that. I get
Yeah.
it, but it's still also like, look, I mean, you're coming here however many years later and saying all this stuff that I no longer think, or whatever, and it just kind of stirs a pot that doesn't need to be stirred. But yeah, at some point I think what you're saying, it will happen, because I mean at a certain point it just becomes, you can't get away with anything. And I think that's another thing too, is whenever you say something, it gets immortalized, and someone's always going to have a problem with one tiny thing you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it doesn't reflect who we are. It's just unfortunate that it's up for everyone to see, depending on how you approach, your online presence, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's like context is important, but the weirdest thing is if you're doing like let's say you're having a conversation with somebody and you recorded it in 2010 or something, and now 11 years later someone is watching it, they're offended. The At that time that conversation might have been just there for you and your friends, you made it public,
Yeah.
but over the years it developed or it gained a lot of views.
Yeah.
So like there's that context that's kind of hidden where it is public and it's meant for the public, but the amount of with the number of eyes that you knew you had on you at that time being so different than now, I don't know how, like I don't think it doesn't look like people are taking into consideration of that, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, no, it totally does. Because, like, yeah, I mean, it could just be some random person. Yeah, like you said, okay, random conversation with my friend, we're fooling around, whatever, goes on the internet for our own
Yeah.
sake to be able to look back on. And then years later, someone comes across it and is like, loves it. The thing blows up for some reason many, many years later. And then people start having a problem with it. It's like, well, that was none of your business in the first place. Like,
Yeah.
it's like sending a public email essentially to your friend about something. Like, me
Right.
and Grace, we made ridiculously stupid YouTube videos when we were in high school, and they're up on the internet, and no one's found them, thank God. But like, it gives me joy to look at them. But if they went and blew up and people started tearing it apart, that would suck because it's not only just something that you made for your own enjoyment, but it's then okay, a future version of that being torn up by random strangers on the internet
Mhm.
where they don't understand what the context was. Context is key, like you said. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And people take things so personally too on the internet. It's easy to misunderstand an interpretation, but also people go way too far sometimes, and it's not really that nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by the internet and all the streaming, and just you're communicating to you have the potential to communicate to literally billions of people in the world, and there's
Yeah.
no way you can, like if I'm trying to explain something happening in London, Ontario, I don't expect someone in I don't know, South America to necessarily understand the context. Like
Yeah.
if you grew up there and I grew up here, it's literally a different world that you're living
Yeah.
in, but we share something on the internet. So, I mean, I'm thinking more about these things because over the last year or two, I've been trying to make videos, doing these episodes, writing.
Yeah.
So, in the what do you say? You know, in the off chance, like very slim chance, something I write or put online is going to be viewed a lot or by thousands or thousands of people. I'm sure it'll come up. So it's just interesting to have these conversations now so that if it comes up in the future, you kind of have at least an understanding. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like too, it's always the stuff that we don't expect to go viral, as
Yeah.
it were. It does go viral. Like if you're actually trying to make something that people are going to enjoy, it seems more often than not that that's the thing that people ignore. Like, I've been making YouTube videos for, wow, it's basically since university. So like 10 years, which is ridiculous. And I don't do it all the time anymore as I did, a number of years ago, but like, it's something that I have always consistently done just to fuel my own creativity and kind of as my own like you were talking about, kind of my own video diary that's more so for me than for anyone else. Like there are times quite often when I will refer to a general audience when I'm making them sometimes, but it's not because I'm wanting an audience, it's just for me. And so when more people started watching them, it was weird. And it started to kind of feel like an invasion. I was just like, I don't want these people to, I don't want to blow up. And like at the beginning of, well, actually, I get about a year ago now, I thought I would download TikTok because I was bored, and I started making stupid lip syncing videos because I was bored and it's fun and that's my creative outlet. Yes, I'm one of those people. It's stupid. But you have, like, I now have more followers than I want liking my stuff. And like anytime I'll post a video after a while, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you came back with my sound and shit like that. And I'm like, Kate, I'm just doing this for me because I need a quick fun time, like it's not a big deal. But, then I had one dude that I followed back as well being like, hey, so you could go, you could get really big on this if you wanted. I'm like, yeah, sure, no. But also, hey, I'm not trying to. Like,
Yeah.
if I was trying to do that, that'd be one thing, but I'm not. It's literally just for my own entertainment. If other people get a kick out of it, great. But like, it just makes me feel like all of social media, I don't want the attention, but I don't want to have to lock my stuff down so it's entirely private. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's exactly the I don't know what the word is, whether it's conundrum or dilemma, you
Yeah,
know, like you want both things, but you
exactly.
can't get both. I mean, like you want to share your content and you want people to see it, but you don't want you don't want everyone to see it.
Well, exactly. And like, I don't know, a thing that I've been finding a lot is like just general unwanted attention. Like I've had this one person who, excuse me, followed me on TikTok, found out that he's also from London,
Oh,
but he's followed me everywhere and will send me like Instagram messages saying we should hang out, saying things about this and this and this. And I'm sitting here going, and I had to send him a message being like, look, I appreciate that we've connected on this level, but you're making me uncomfortable just because,
mm,
you can't assume that you're going to be best friends with everyone that you talk to. And I
yeah,
think there's that with the openness of the internet, there is that ability where, you want to build a connection with people. That's what's great about the internet. I could make a best friend who lives in Russia if I wanted. Like,
mhm,
that's a possibility if I wanted to branch out and build a community across the world. But at the same time, it's like you still have to respect that people are people and they have their own privacy. And just
yeah,
because I've got a public Instagram account doesn't mean that I want strangers coming in and making personal comments about what they think about my life. It's this weird, like you said, conundrum. It's kind of
it's
a really weird space to live in.
yeah, it's so I think I joined Facebook around grade 10, so that must have been 2007-ish or 8 or whatever. Anyway, so since then, I've been since the beginning I was very tried to make things private. It's like, don't share opinions, say the least possible opinionated things, just, keep it basic,
Yeah.
make everything private, only share with friends.
Yeah.
But, after 10 or so years of that, it reached a point where it was like I want to make things public because I feel like I have to share some of my creative writing or photos
Yeah.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
because like at some point you can't keep everything in, because if you're always doing something, you want people to see it, and people don't really see it, but I know it's there. Like, it's a
If
weird thing.
Yeah, it's like the interested parties will find it, you know? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the my opinion now is, if you're gonna be putting stuff online, uh, it's very important to have a secure and reliable group of like friends or family offline,
Hmm.
because that's what keeps you grounded to reality.
Yeah.
If you don't have that and you're purely online, then I don't even know what it's like, but I can just see it going wrong, because you're waiting for you're trying to
It's like
uh,
validation,
suck
constant validation.
emotions out of something that's not there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and I feel like too, there's this weird sense of ownership that exists now that didn't maybe exist in the same way that it did. So, like, the whole side of people taking things uber personally.
Mm.
So, like, if you do something that you just want to share and you're excited about, make that step to make it open and available to anyone. And on the negative side, have people coming after you for them not agreeing with an opinion or whatever the situation is, then there's that like unnecessary disheartened feeling that the individual who put it out there in the first place gets, just because they wanted to share something that they were proud of. Like, it's tricky. Like, it's this people always saying like, oh, when I was a kid, that whole the floor is lava thing. Well, maybe it's more relevant than we thought that it was going to be, because the
Mm.
internet is basically like a lava floor where you just
Yeah.
have to dance around stuff and hop over all of these weird social cues that I guess make sense but are also sometimes really ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do like the technology though, because like you have that ability to share.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but you're right. I think the problem or the difficulties come when you have a lot of unwanted attention or just attention in general, because the more views or downloads or subscriptions, whatever is the currency that you get, you're bound to have people who are not there for your content, but just to kind of spite you, or they don't like you, or maybe they're too interested in you, as your example.
Yeah.
So I'm not there, so everything is pretty good right now. But it's like, but that's um, whether it's intentional or not. That's kind of what I want. I want people to read my stuff or look at my things. But so it's kind of weird. I just think of it as, well, I guess two things. So first, I have to be happy with what I'm putting up online.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a good capture of an idea, or is this a good timestamp of a conversation that at the time was good enough for me, and then I enjoy it? Yes, okay, put it on there. It's forget about it.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's out of my head. And if someone asks me about, oh, did you talk to Alicia? It's like, yeah, we have a conversation. It's there. You can listen to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of, I think in that way it's good because it takes stuff out of my head and puts it externally. So yeah.
Oh, totally. Our brains are too small to be able to fit all the stuff that we think sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the internet is great. Like, I'm happy that I'm alive during a time where it's a thing. Like, I still remember dial-up when I was a kid.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
through all that thing, but it's like anything. It's got its positives and its negatives, and you just gotta try and err on the positive side as much as you can. But there's always, unfortunately, people in the world who won't get you, who won't like you, whatever. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes that comes out a lot more prevalently in the internet scope of things because you don't know the person. So easy to just
Mm,
write a comment about your true opinion of something because you're never going to meet them. And like, who fucking cares? But,
yeah.
I think that's the unfortunate side of, you know, humanity and remembering, oh, wait, no, that person's a person too. If I heard that, someone telling me that same thing that I told someone else wouldn't feel so good. So I guess, just gotta all try and be as human as we can. But yeah, it's a weird thing we got here. Internet
Yeah.
connected on the web.
Yeah. So to take it away from something really abstract and trying to bring it back down to something real.
More chill.
Um,
Yeah.
so tell me how, like, when you were at medieval times,
Mhm.
what's a typical day or show? Do you have multiple shows in a day?
I generally don't, unless it's on a weekend because I do work. So in Toronto, we can't be open all the time, mostly because of like the the seasons. There are some locations in the States that have shows, I think, like all day, every day, pretty much. What Toronto does is there's like, during certain times of the year, an educational matinee show that happens in the morning time. And then for most of the year, like Thursday through Sunday, evening shows where it's open to anyone. And generally a shift is like 5 hours. The show's about 2 hours. So I basically, as a cast member, would show up 30 minutes. I would have, trying to remember. Yeah, it's 30 minutes to get ready, and then we open the house for guests to start coming in. And that's like an hour, 15 minutes before the show actually starts. And certain cast members have specific duties before the show. So like my character is the queen, and then the character who's the Lord Chancellor, who's essentially the queen's advisor. We both stand out in the front and take photos with guests. And then the MC of the show, makes the occasional announcement on the what would you call it? Just the microphone in the main area while the guests kind of mill about. And then we do like knighting ceremonies for guests who want to pay for it, essentially. So I would go back and forth between a knighting ceremony and taking photos with guests. And then we perform the show, and then there's a little, length of however long, depending on how long the guests stick around for after the show, where all the cast and the knights come out and would do autographs or take photos or just chat with the guests. So yeah, like, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Like, some of the best things are just having the kids come up and talk to you because they think you're a real royal. Like, and some kids know that you're not a real royal, but like, I will never forget, I had this kid, this little boy who was probably 8 years old, come up to me after the show. And just because a part of the plot is the queen is kind of being bullied around by one specific knight and her Lord Chancellor, who are basically saying that she doesn't know what she's doing, she's not all that powerful, all that kind of stuff. And essentially at the end of the show, she, in so many words, basically tells the knight to go fuck himself and says that he's going to die, and has her champion that she chose based on the fight's fight in her name. And I had this little boy come up to me after the show, and he just said, I just really think that it was great that you stood up for yourself, and I really respect that you're a powerful leader, and I look up to you. And I'm like,
oh my God.
What? So, it's the audience that makes it, and like, it is a scripted show. There are, rules that the audience has to follow. Like, you can't throw food. I know a lot of people ask if you can throw food and stuff like that, but like, it's the audience who makes it because you're allowed to heckle. And
oh, wow.
It's really, like, sometimes it can be annoying, but you're allowed to heckle. And for the most part, we don't really hear because the arena is very large. And like, right. The arena can hold up to 1,200 or 1,300 people. So like, when we're full, it can be crazy how many people are there. But sometimes that makes it fun. Like, when I first started, it was because I was hired for the queen role, but they hadn't switched over into this new show yet. So I played the princess in the previous show for about 2.5 months-ish. And then, flipping over to the queen role, it's a quick fix and you just have to jump into it. There's no dress rehearsals for the most part. Like, we got together as cast to know what the cues were and things like that, but you're just jumping in and you've got the audience who's yelling stuff at you while you're still like, hey, do I know the lines? Do I know all this stuff? And I think it was like the second week in, I'd probably done 4 shows at this point, and we had a group of friends who came in and they were really rowdy and having a great time and heckling at us. And it was fun. But they were sitting like really close to where the cast is. And my boss, who is also one of the actors in the show, I guess had a conversation and taken a photo with this group before the show. So they were kind of saying things at him. And it just was nonstop to the point where it was almost disruptive. And, I was worried that I was going to forget a line because I'm trying to block out this wall of sound that's coming from my corner. And at one point in one of the lines that I had, one of the guys in the group, I think I'd said something as the queen, and he said, I didn't vote for you. And I just had enough, and I was like, all right, this is my chance. And I don't even remember making the decision in my mind, but I just looked over to him and said, you didn't have to. And the audience erupted. And like, that's what you live for, is those little moments where the audience just gets so into it, and it's great. And especially
Wow.
because the audience is different every night. So sometimes you might play the show the exact same way multiple times in a row, but the audience just doesn't engage the same way. So those nights where like everything kind of works out perfectly and you get the reactions that you're really hoping for, it feels great. Like it's just so much fun. So like it is a job, but it's not a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
I went on a long rant there. I'm sorry.
no, it was awesome. Like, it's awesome that they have that plot where the queen starts off being treated really poorly and then comes out the hero at the end. Because, I mean, who doesn't love that plot? That's like all
Oh,
good shows, basically.
yeah. Essentially, she's just like, hey, let's all have a fun time. We're going to watch a jousting competition, whatever. And then her chancellor is like, um, essentially, the chancellor comes from the same country as the knight who is assigned that point in time to be the bad guy. And so he
Mm.
basically says, hey, like, the rules of the game up until this point in the show are we're just fighting for fun. There's no death involved. And the chancellor gets super into it and says, what are you doing? Why did you stop fighting? You need to kill him. And the queen's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're undermining me. Like, excuse me.
Yeah.
And so the chancellor gets the audience all riled up, like, do you want to see death? And everyone, of course, is like, yeah, let's kill him.
I did.
The queen's like, fine, like, I'll play along. Like, let's do this. And then the knight takes it a step further. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know, the thing about it is the writer of these shows, he used to be a knight himself in one of the locations in the States. Ironically,
Mm.
he's actually from Canada, but anyway, he's, let's just say he's not a feminist.
Mm.
He doesn't, he's kind of a misogynistic person. And so the way he wrote it is like, hey, we're giving the queen some power, but we're not really giving the queen some power. Like there are many
Right.
things in the script that are problematic because like if he really believed that he was giving this female character a power moment, he would have written in some different things that prove that she's not an idiot. But there's no
Um,
line in there where it says, hey, no, I know what I'm doing. It's just
right.
like, oh, I watched my father, the king, do this before he died. It's fine. So, it's not perfect, but this is also the first time they've had only a queen and not a queen and a king or a king and a princess. So
Mm.
it's kind of, regardless, cool to be that, I don't know, that prominent character for the first time in this stupid company. you know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you're enjoying it though. I mean, it sounds
Oh,
like you get something out of it.
and yes, like, and it's not just that it's fun to pretend to be a queen. It's like the place really does feel like a family. Um,
Yeah.
you wouldn't work there if you didn't have some kind of interest in, ridiculous fantasy shit or just having a good time. Everyone there is just good people, and
Hmm.
I've made a couple really really good friends there, and like I don't know, every now and then I think about, okay, well, do I really want to be in Toronto anymore? Like I think about goals and things for my future. Like I'd like to have some kind of home with a lot of land and a lot of animals and that kind of stuff. And I don't think that that would be in a large city like Toronto. But thinking about actively working towards those goals now, or even considering moving away, like it's really bizarre, but I keep thinking about, well, no, I'm waiting for medieval times to come back. I don't want to give that up. It's only been a couple of years, and a couple of years isn't a short amount of time, but it's not something that I'm interested in putting aside yet. So, and that seems to be the case for most people who work there. And it really doesn't feel like I'm going in for, the 9 to 5 kind of shift when I do. So it's very unique. It's a cool opportunity that I'm glad that I found in the first place. So
So Yeah, you're pretty. I mean, you want to stay at medieval times for now. You're looking into the future,
Oh yeah.
where you want to be, how you want to live. So what is what does it look like for you? Like what is or how did I say this? Because a lot of people ask, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
I
But
just say,
that's
yeah.
not what I'm asking. What I'm kind of asking is what um,
What do I want to do with the next, number of years type of thing?
no, the way I approach things is I don't really like I whenever I decide this is where I want to be, what follows naturally is you work toward that.
Yeah.
But if that goal is going to be a really long-term goal, at some point through the process, you're going to lose the reason for wanting to be there. And when
Mm.
you get there, it's not what you don't feel like you achieve something.
Yeah.
So instead of looking at where you want to be, what I'm trying to get at is like, how do you see yourself improving yourself over the next few years? Like, what are you working on?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Um, that is a very interesting question.
Well, I can give you an example. Like for
Yeah.
me, well, like one thing I already mentioned is I'm working on getting my posture good so that I can sit for long periods of time.
Yeah.
So I dabbled in some meditation where you just sit in a cross-legged posture, sit still, and try to meditate,
Hmm.
or just basically close your eyes and focus on breathing. That's my definition of meditation.
Yeah.
Um, it's very difficult for me to do that because when I am sitting in that position, something hurts. So my focus goes to wherever the pain is, whether it's my neck or my legs.
Yeah.
So that is, that's a goal where um, it's it is still a goal because I'm trying to work toward it, but it's not like trying to achieve uh, an external result. Like it's something that is I'm trying to build myself to get to that point where I can use that meditation as a tool for further things.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's an example of something where I'm trying to improve myself to get there. But that's a physical thing.
Yeah.
Something it's yeah.
I think, well, I mean, there was a few years there after theater school where I really kind of lost myself. Like, um, I wasn't accepted back to second year of theater school. They had, a number of things that they thought that I should be doing differently. And unfortunately, the theater school experience for me after moving away from high school wasn't a positive one. Like,
Mm.
um, they wanted you to do without really teaching a whole lot, and like the way that they went about trying to showcase that they thought you should do something differently wasn't in a super kind way. And so like that knocked my confidence, that really affected my mental health. And so I think I've been spending like a lot of years kind of trying to get back into not just rebuilding the confidence, but ensuring that I'm kind of in tune with myself, because I think that the whole being in tune with myself thing just kind of fell by the wayside. And so, certainly within the last few years, I mean, since then, I've been trying to build, and I think I've come a long way, which is something that I'm really happy about. But I think it's still a struggle for me to really be in tune with all the aspects that I should be, if that makes sense. And
Mhm.
like, even just deciding what I want to do with my life concretely has been difficult, because there's a lot of things that I want to do, but I also hold myself back. Um, and so I think I've just been trying my best to pay attention in the moment to the stuff that brings me joy and try and get rid of all the nonsense that doesn't help anymore. Um, in kind of the overarching ideal of finding where my fantasy version of life would go. um so like on the more practical side of things, like financial stuff, I try and keep on top of that and be practical with things and not just let myself go crazy. But um I think there's a side of you know, for example, if you're thinking about finances and if you're concerned about, what a future state of that looks like and working towards a future goal that involves finances, you also kind of sometimes don't allow yourself to enjoy the stuff that you need to, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
it's, just trying to find that balance of trying new things, like allowing myself to do the things that make me happy. And even if it might ultimately be a time waster or what it is, just giving it a go. And I think, especially now, like I find that I can sometimes struggle with trying to go ahead and do something. Like, there's a video that I watched years ago. I don't know if you've heard of Zay Frank, but he was a guy who did stuff on YouTube. And he made this video that was about what he called brain crack,
Mhm.
which is essentially about the idea of, having, whether it's a creative thought or a goal or whatever, and you just build it up so much in your mind without doing anything that by the
Okay.
time you start doing it, it's
Yeah.
almost unattainable. And so I think, realizing that I kind of had that approach for a number of years without
Yeah.
realizing it, even though I watched that video almost, I think it probably came out like 8 years ago, kind of getting out of that. It needs to be perfect in my head before I can execute it because, whatever. So just allowing myself to go ahead and do what I enjoy and
Yeah.
not worrying about anything other than, hey, is this going to make me happy? Great, you know? So, like, I don't know, I thought about going back to school for animal care, and maybe switching into a career that takes care of animals. And I've thought about doing voice acting. Like, voice acting is a
Oh,
thing that I thought
have
would
you
be.
done any
I
voice acting?
I haven't done, unfortunately, any character work, but I've done a lot of like voiceovers for different things, whether they be like company videos. I did a voiceover on a commercial that was for like a Halloween thing a few years ago about a campaign for peanutless candies and things. It was on TVO or something. Apparently, my voice is now on the PC financial training video. Like, random shit. I know someone I know, was looking for someone. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. They were editing the thing, but
See, voice acting fascinates me because I want to give it a shot, but it's like because I love watching cartoons,
right.
and
Who doesn't love
I
watching cartoons?
for whatever reason, like when I moved to Canada, I was 7 years old, so I learned a lot of. I already knew English, but I learned like Canadian English or American
Sure.
slang and all that from TV. So
Right.
maybe it's just when you're a kid, everything you say is like very exaggerated. Like if you're sad, you sound really sad, or you
Right.
know.
Right.
So, but for some reason, even now, like anime shows and cartoons are just compelling to me because it's easy to discern when someone is angry or sad. So I don't know. I think it would be fun to give that a shot.
Oh, totally. Like, I think that's a part of the performing side of things. Because, like, there was a point in time where, I really actively wanted to be an actor because that'd be
Mm.
fun. And I really do enjoy acting. But, as I started thinking about things, and actually shortly after I think I started doing medieval times, I kind of realized, like, well, not that I realized, I knew it, but it was kind of like, oh, epiphany, right? I don't want that. Like, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be a celebrity. Like,
Right.
I like act again, it's kind of like the stupid YouTube and the internet thing. It's like, I like doing this, but I don't want everyone to follow me around, or like,
Yeah.
you don't want that cult following side of things. And there's a documentary, which if you haven't seen, you really should watch, about voice acting. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it is anymore, called I Know That Voice.
Okay.
And I watched this, and the way that the voice actors talk about the voice acting industry just sounds so fucking wholesome. Like, they support one another. They think, oh, I can't do that thing, but I know someone who would be great for it, rather than this whole competition arc that there is in the regular acting world. And
Right.
it's like you said, like, voice acting for the most part is cartoons. Like if you're doing a
Yeah.
character thing, you're doing a cartoon or an anime or a CGI thing, and it, for the most part, is ridiculous. And I just want to live my life and have a good time. Like that just sounds like a blast to me, you know?
Yeah.
And if you can do it, then great. If you don't, then whatever, no big deal. But I guess there are so many ways that you can do something even if you're not a professional anyway. Like you can just go online and create an account and, start auditioning for stuff even if you have zero experience, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so I mean, it's something that I definitely want to try to do more of, but what I've been finding, at least so far, is like most of the work that I'm getting is the serious stuff. Most of the
Mm.
people who are willing to take on a rookie for character stuff, you're not going to get paid for it. Maybe the project doesn't end up happening at all, whatever. Or it's like a lot of commitment. And because it's a passion project, you don't want to kind of step on the toes of someone who maybe wants more from you that they can, but then they can get. But like I've recently come across some stuff because of TikTok, ironically, watching a video of someone saying, hey, I'm doing this project. I'm looking for voice actors and animators and all this kind of stuff. So if you
Mm.
want to audition, join the Discord. And I'm sitting here going like, yeah. And I think, time this back, like Critical Role, because all of the people who are involved in Critical Role are voice actors. It kind of also got my mind
Oh,
going back, like,
right.
oh crap, I want to try and do something if I can. So yeah, like I've got my closet, which I can make soundproof by piling a whole bunch of blankets in there, and I've got microphone and whatever. So I'll go in there every now and then, but I think it's just getting the motivation to do it on an active basis. I've just been very
Mm.
sedentary for a long time because of the pandemic, and
Right.
so that's the hardest part, is getting myself off my ass to actually actively do the stuff. But I don't know. I think to answer your original question, like I guess I'm just trying to not be as idle as I feel like I've been for a while and kind of
Right.
get myself out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, okay. Well, about sorry, I'm just really focused on this voice acting thing just because I think it's awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
I yeah, it's not that I want to get into it. I just want to do it once.
Yeah.
But I don't have any animations for myself. Like it would be fun to have my own kind of little video or something.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Um, so oh, man, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh well. Anyway, it's something awesome that I would love to do. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So yeah, it kind of goes back to what you were saying, where you want to avoid that, as you defined it, brain crack, where you kind of think about it too long before you do it, and
Yeah.
it's just a different experience. So most a lot of people are, or I say everyone is natural at something. Like some things you can do without any effort just because it comes easy to you. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it's just like I don't know. I just have a habit of trying to organize things. It's pretty lame superpower, but that's just how it is. Um,
Dude, it's a superpower. Don't worry about it.
and yeah, so I think that's the important thing. Like you always want to do something new that is exciting. So I'm excited to try voice acting, but I'm smart enough, or I have enough experience to know that when I was really excited about something in the past and I thought it was something I want to do long term, it never works out like that. You just got to do it for the first time and then see if you're able to do it a bunch more times. So in
Yeah.
following that process, it would be cool to first do voice acting and then over time just find out whatever that natural thing is where it comes easy, you can make money from it, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can do stuff that's fun and not even you might be terrible. Like I write blog posts and like TV reviews and TV show reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's very detailed or analytical, but it's fun.
Well, exactly. And like that would be the ultimate. I mean, the people who talk about, oh, well, you know, you should do something, you know, your job should be your passion. And then you have the other side of people who are like, well, no, because if you do that, then it's not going to be your passion anymore. But like, my mom loves dance. And so she decided to create a dance studio and she loves what she does, you know? And I just think that would be great. Like, my experience with medieval times, I would love to have that be my 9 to 5 job, you know, whatever it
Mm.
is that I end up doing, just I do it because I love it, not because I have to make a paycheck. And the
Yeah.
bonus is the paycheck, you know? And yeah, I mean, it doesn't come easy to find that thing for everyone. Some people find it straight away. Some people have to work really hard and it takes many years to get there, but like that would just be so great, you know, finding the one thing that you're so stoked to do all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, whatever I really love to do, I don't think I could do it as a job because it's like it's a very personal, creative thing. It's like I want to do it this way.
Right.
I don't need your opinion on this.
Don't want to be
This
beholden
is
to like the man up top saying how you have to do it.
yeah. It's like I want to make this YouTube video. I don't care if it's terrible. I want to do it this way. You
Yeah.
know, so I kind of like for me a job is something that you at least like because I have mostly experience in engineering
Hmm.
stuff, which is you gotta kind of grind it out day to day, look at the same design or circuit board over and over again.
Yeah.
So I like the that aspect where it's like, oh, you got to put in your work, you got to be organized, you got to be methodical, get it out of the way, and then once you get all that done, then it's like you have this time to be creative and do whatever garbage creative stuff you want to do, which sometimes turns out great.
Yep. Yep. No, it's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, let
yeah,
me just grab my charger. Just give me 1 sec. My laptop
yeah,
is
sure.
getting low on battery. 1 second here. All right, we're back. Sorry about that.
So I found this a letter opener which I got at Medieval Times in Toronto.
Awesome. Wait, hang on. That's mine.
Oh, that's huge. Wow.
I know it's bigger. Oh my god, you have a medieval times letter opener. That's awesome.
This is from grade 6.
Yep.
So
Did
must
you
have
do
been
the field
2000.
trip thing with your class?
Yeah, it was a school field trip. Yep. Yeah, we
Yep.
went there. I remember someone died and everyone was shocked. That's all I remember.
If I'm remembering this, I mean, so ironically, I didn't go to medieval times for the first time until my 25th birthday because I switched schools between grades 4 and 5, and each
Oh,
school went the opposite season than I was at the school I
oh
was going.
no.
So I don't know for sure, but if I'm correct, you might have been at the infamous Green Knight show, which is like everyone's favorite. Anyway.
Okay. Sounds like Green Knight just is ringing bells for some reason.
Yep.
Uh, I don't remember the show at all. I just remember buying a knife. That's
Yep.
all I remember.
That's fair. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, yeah, it's been a weird year. Um,
Yeah. How are you holding
wow.
up? How's it been for you?
I think I'm okay because I'm living with the family, so there's I don't really get lonely because you're always around somebody.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't have to worry
it's
about that
just
side of things.
yeah, I was pretty okay until like September or October, and then I just really wanted to meet my friends in person.
Right.
So I've kind of avoided meeting people outside of my family. So it kind of sucks. It does suck. I did go for runs with a friend of mine, so we weren't really talking to each other. We're always moving, so I felt like that was safe.
Right.
Um, but yeah, just uh, as far as just getting a job, that's the only thing that keeps bothering me from day to day or week to week. Uh, I'm pretty sure I'll get something, but it's been over 2 years since my last job.
Right.
In that time, I did go back to school and I did also complete an online course. So I do have things to fill up the gaps in my resume,
Yeah, totally.
but it's I think I'm just brain cracking the heck out of it or the hell out of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only that's the part that bothers me. And
Uh,
yeah,
and that's just it. Like right now, it's unfortunate, but we can't expect too much out of, those kind of things right now. Like getting a
yeah,
job right now is very difficult. And especially with being in engineering, like that's not a simple field, like going down to your neighborhood Tim Hortons and saying, "Hey, please hire me to serve people coffee." Like it's a particular skill set. And so because it's a particular skill set, it's like great, you have, a great chance to get something, but on the flip side, like what are the companies doing right now? And like it sucks. It really
yeah.
sucks. I don't know. I think once things kind of clear up a little bit better and we can go places, you'll have a much easier time at it. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm handling it pretty okay. It's just, it goes through cycles. You just
yeah,
feel really terrible for a week, and then you feel, you find a job that sounds great, you apply, you feel pretty good for the next 3 weeks. So I think
yeah,
I'm just in a down part of the cycle. So
yeah.
I'll be fine next week.
Comes and goes
Uh,
in waves as it does,
yeah,
Yeah. No, I hear you.
yeah.
How else are you
So,
spending your time other than watching the Great Canadian Bake Off?
let's see. Well, I'm doing the monthly challenges. This is the
Yep.
plank challenge.
Yep.
I'm reading. I have 3 books going right now. War of the
Nice.
Worlds,
Oh, I
the
have that on my
original.
bookshelf, but I haven't read it yet. Is it good?
It's pretty old English, kind of like it's. I like it because it sounds like an engineer wrote a story because it sounds very technical.
Oh, interesting.
Um, but it's pretty. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of boring.
Fair.
Uh, but I'm halfway through, so I just want to finish it.
Yeah. You've made it this far.
And
I know it's not a small book, so
well, I have this problem where if I start something, I have to finish it because I have a lot of whatever I haven't finished watching. For example, TV shows.
mhm.
I can make up a list immediately, and I just
Yep.
remember, oh, I never finished that.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
trying to
see
avoid that.
problem where I watch and super invested in shows, and then for some reason I never watched the last season, like for so many, and it's driving me crazy. And then I never go back because I'm like, well, it was the last season. I have to, remember what happened before. I'm not going to watch, anyway.
Right, right.
Yeah, no,
So
but
I
three
got
books,
that.
that's good.
I got Thinking Fast and Slow, which is a book about how the brain thinks.
Oh, cool.
It's split into 2 parts, System One and System Two.
Hmm. Is that like
It's
left hemisphere, right hemisphere type thing, or is it slightly different?
uh, uh, one is your impulse, basically, and the second one is your reflective, like deep thought,
Oh,
trying to solve a math problem kind of thing.
gotcha. Oh, that's cool. Huh.
Yeah, it's by I think it's I don't know, some kind of scientist or economist. I'm not sure. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So, but it's also very dry and boring. So I'm
Yeah.
also kind of just trying to get through it. And
Don't you hate
also, yeah, I do, but I have to finish it. It's
that?
gonna bother me if I don't.
That's fair. I think I've
So,
only not finished one book and it still bothers me. No, that's not true. There's been a few, but it just doesn't feel right. It's like not listening to the song the whole way through.
oh yeah, you get that too.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Or like, I don't know if you know, did you watch The Office? The American
I
Office?
did.
Um, there's that one thing, it's such a specific moment. Oh my God, so many of my stupid references are from The Office. It's when Andy is singing a tune and like to the lyrics of something that he's reading, and Pam is like, "Okay, we're going here," and he's like, "Well, now it's gonna stick in my head like unfinished tune, like it's drive me crazy. I'm gonna get a headache." Anyway, sorry. God.
And the there are two moments that stick out from The Office for me. My favorite moment ever is there's an episode where Michael Scott is sitting on a park bench feeding pigeons, and he's just throwing slices of bread at the pigeons. I just can't help.
Okay. No, I'm not. I think I actually watched that episode the other day. The Office is one of those shows that's on constant rotation for me.
Oh,
It just, as soon as you finish it, I have to start it again. I can't not. When it gives
oh
you
my
that
god.
like tidbit from oh, like, hey, we're watching the trailer or the first episode of this new documentary show, and it shows you the first couple seconds from the first episode. It makes me thinking right back to the beginning
Oh
again.
yeah.
I don't know how many times I've seen that show. It's stupid.
I I I love it so much. I can't watch it again because I'm gonna have to watch all the seasons. I don't want
Yep.
to go through that commitment.
Yep. No, that's my problem. But, I'm a person who notoriously overwatches things. I will constantly, like, I was the person who, okay, I want to be in a certain vibe this day, so I'll throw a movie on. And then when the movie finishes, I still want to be in this vibe. I'll throw it back on. Like, I don't
Oh
know.
geez. Wow. I mean, I rewatch movies, but you watch the same movie multiple times on one day.
I have done it. I have done it many times. Yes. Yeah.
So
I'm a
what's
little
your most what's like the what's the movie on regular rotation for you?
Um, it used to be the 2005 Pride and Prejudice film with Keira Knightley, just because
Okay.
it's so beautiful, all of it. Then it was Scott Pilgrim for a while,
Mm, okay.
and generally now it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy,
Okay.
either Fellowship or Return of the King. I just what can I say? I clearly am a fantasy nerd, so I can't help it. But yeah, like it used to be a thing where if I wanted to tidy up or do something productive, I would throw on Lord of the Rings, and that would just be on in the background. And like I
Interesting.
try and challenge myself to finish what I was doing before whatever point in the film or whatever. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah. How about
you
you?
know, well, I mean, I don't you it usually takes me like a year or two before I rewatch something, but I recently rewatched Deadpool 2
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
I love it because you never remember all the jokes. It's just packed full of jokes. So
Deadpool's
I don't
one of
know.
the movies that I've watched multiple times in a row. So yeah, I.
Yeah, I'd say a Deadpool. What else is a regular rewatch? I don't know. It's so hard. Can't think of anything because I've been using this Letterboxd app, which is like a movie. You can rate movies and write your own review on them.
Okay, cool.
So, because I've outsourced it to the website, I can't remember what I've rewatched
That's fair.
except Deadpool.
Fair.
Uh, but I did rewatch all the Marvel MCU movies. So
In
I
front
watched
of
23 movies in 24 days.
Oh boy, that's pretty good.
And yeah, I had to take a break because I was getting tired of superheroes in the middle,
Yeah,
but I did it.
yeah. Did you, out of curiosity, did you ever watch the show The Tick, like the new remake that came out a few
Oh,
years ago?
not the remake, but I remember the cartoon from way back.
Cartoon?
Is it good,
Yeah.
the remake?
I really enjoyed it. It's apparently so I can't remember watching the Tick cartoon, but I know that I did. But the show was very similar from what I remember in vibe
Okay.
to the cartoon. I thought it was just fun and charming. I don't know. But yeah, like I picked it up because it was on Amazon Prime and just recently
Yeah.
got access to that. So it's just like, oh, this is kind of fun fluff to watch. And it was good. And like the special effects are surprisingly really good for just being a general TV show.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was fun.
You know, they're making a Lord of the Rings series at Amazon. I, I mean,
I
just so you know, I have not gotten into Lord of the Rings. I just
not at all.
like it's my dad bought me the three books in one book, when I
Mm.
was in grade 9 or grade 4 or something.
Oh boy.
And my friend was really into it. So I started reading it and it was just really boring. All I remember is someone said 11d10 and I was like, that's not a real word. I can't read this.
I can't handle it. No, I get it. My parents got me The Hobbit when I think it was my 11th birthday.
Yeah.
And I tried reading it probably every year until I was 23 or 24. I could not fucking read the goddamn book. It was, like you said, so boring. And then one day I picked it up and I was just like, all right, let's go again. And I loved it. It was like something just flipped in my brain. And so then I tried to pick up Lord of the Rings after reading that. I was like, oh, great. I've, peppered myself. Nope. Another couple years passed, and then I read Lord of the Rings, and
Man.
I did love it when I was finally able to get through. But man, that writing style is just not easy to get into, unfortunately. When you do, it's great, but like, I think it took me reading a lot of really boring or weirdly styled writing in novels and things like that before I was able to get into it. But yeah, no, I hear you. Like the films are great. The films are probably some of the best movie adaptations of books.
Okay.
They cut obviously a ton out, but they're just really well done. But yeah, no, I don't blame you for not getting through Lord of the Rings. After I read it, I think I might have read through either one of the books or the full series again, a little while after I finished it the first time. And then I was given like a nice version of the books for, I think, Christmas or something. And it came with the Silmarillion. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh, great. Like now I can graduate to the Silmarillion. No, no, it's so boring. I just can't. It'd be interesting to get through, but just no, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, two of my favorite book series
Mm-hmm.
started with a really boring first book that I couldn't read. The first one was also when I was in grade 4. It was Aragon.
I still haven't read that book. I keep wanting to, and I keep not picking it up.
It's really boring for like the first time I read it, I couldn't get past 30 or 40 pages.
Okay.
I think I left it for a year or two,
Yeah.
came back to it, finished it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And the second series is the Expanse series.
That I also haven't read, but I've heard of it. That's sci-fi, right? The
That is
Expanse.
sci-fi.
I
Yeah.
think they've come out with a show about that's based off of the books, haven't they?
They are on season 5 now, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I just recently found out about it. So, is the show as good as the books?
The show
Or book?
I mean, I'm biased because I read the book, so I'm just watching the show to see what they do differently.
Right.
I would say season 4 was amazing,
Okay.
and season 3 was also amazing. I haven't watched season 5. I don't really remember the first 2 seasons.
Sure.
But yeah, the book. The only reason I finished it is I decided I'm just going to read a chapter a day until I finish it.
Got it.
So it's just by following that rule over time. It just, as a whole story, it was a really good story.
Yeah.
But it's, I guess I would say it starts off kind of slow. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like all of that's so subjective. Like I a couple years ago found my current favorite series, which I don't know if you've heard of Patrick Rothfuss. But he
Heard the
hasn't
name, but
really,
that's it.
yeah, he hasn't really written a whole lot because he's kind of doing like a George R. R. Martin thing where he's taking 15, 20 years to write 3 books, but
Mm.
he's got 2 of 3, or he's got 2 of a trilogy out, and I guess is still working on the last. And like, I absolutely fell in love with the series. I love his writing, all this kind of stuff. So I went on to Goodreads to figure out, oh, does anyone have recommendations of books that are similar that people who like this book would like? And, just reading some of the people's reviews that hated it, I'm sitting here going like, oh, geez, you think that all the stuff that I loved about it are horrible. And I'm sitting here going like, that's just so interesting. So it makes finding the stuff that really sticks to us tough, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Are you reading anything now?
I'm waiting on a couple books to come in the mail that I ordered finally. So no, but I'm gonna be starting to read a series that was recommended to me by an author called Simon Toyne. It's the Sancti trilogy.
Mhm.
I think it's like Sanctus, the Tower, and the Key, or something like that. And
Okay.
I'm basically just like, I feel like I go through phases in my reading. Um, there was a number of years where I wasn't reading anything at all, and I just decided, nope, I'm going to try and make sure that I always have a book on me.
Mhm.
And so I picked up that kind of new reading insurgence with sci-fi novels, and I basically read nothing but sci-fi for like a year and a half. And I think at this point, I'm on the fantasy side of that. So like,
Okay.
I read this Kingkiller Chronicles series that I was just talking about. After Game of Thrones ended, I read all of those books and like kind of trying to find interesting stuff. But I'm finding it tough to find fantasy that's good because I feel like there was a book that I picked up that I just saw at the bookstore. It was on one of the tables as recommended. It was like, okay. And I feel like the author just never told you enough about the context. So
Mhm.
it's kind of now almost like a challenge for me, or like a personal challenge to find really good fantasy that speaks to me. So yeah, but I do miss reading. I used to do it a lot. Um, and it's just something that I guess I get a little apathetic about. And I guess
Mhm.
because I'm not going anywhere right now, like when you're out and about and you're on transit and all this kind of stuff, okay, you're bored. Either you listen to music on your phone or you're scrolling or you have a book. And I would always make sure that I had a book. But since I'm not going anymore, it's just not as instinctual to reach out and grab that novel.
Mhm.
And because we can't just go and explore, it's harder for me to find something that I know that I'm really going to like, even though, the internet has a wealth of probably good suggestions, but I don't know. We'll get there. But yeah.
There's a bookstore in London,
Hmm.
a small bookstore. I think it's in downtown.
Is it the one that's on
Anyway, one of
Richmond, maybe?
sorry,
There's a really old, cool bookstore that's on Richmond that's like almost down by the train station.
on Richmond, I think there's one called City Lights Bookshop.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yes.
Anyway, one of the bookstores in London, they have this. You can order a pack of 5 books, and you can ask them to choose which 5 books. Like you choose the genre, or like I think
Yeah,
you could do like political books or fiction or whatever, and they'll just choose whatever 5 they want.
that's
So that
really,
might be a good way to just get random recommendations from someone who works in a bookshop.
yeah, it's almost like mystery book. Like for a few years there, me and my friends, we would do like a Christmas gathering or whatever. And instead of like a secret Santa, we would do that where we would buy a book that we really liked and wrap it up and put a vague description of what the book could be about. And you would just
Oh,
what you wanted. And like that was really fun because it was just like most of my friend group are really avid readers. And yeah, I came across some really cool things that way. More bookshops should do that because that's a great idea. It's like,
I
hey,
know.
this, suggest me something. Great. I work at a bookstore. I see thousands of books every day. Like, here you go. That'd be a great
Yeah,
idea.
but the thing that specific set of books to sell is only for regular readers, which are few, in my opinion, around the world.
It seems to be. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
once you find the niche of people who love it, it seems like there's a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it's uncommon. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I just love talking about stuff I've read or planning to read things,
Yeah.
but I've just accrued so many books. I can't buy any more books this year because I
Yeah.
won't go through these for another 2 or 3 years.
Well, I do the same. I do the same. I'll just go in the bookshop and think, okay, I want this, and I leave with
Yeah.
a stack of 10. And then 5 years later, they all are sitting unread on my bookshelf, and I've picked up a whole bunch of other books that I've done the same thing with. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I did have to cull, well, I chose to cull my bookshelf recently because I don't like,
Mm.
I would never be interested in buying a book reader. I just need the physical thing. I guess
I
I'm a
see.
very tactile person. I need to be able to flip the pages and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It's a problem. Because you could go through your life with this one little device with more than you could fit in your house, but it's just too much, you know?
Well, what's on your to read list?
Oh gosh. Um, I do have a Goodreads account that I've accrued a list of
Oh,
things.
true. Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many specific things. I do want to go back and read, like, Aragon is one of the books on my list.
Yeah.
Kind of old school books, and like I kind of have a feeling that I kind of have this desire to read classics. You know, like I
Yes.
I read The Picture of Dorian Gray
Mm.
way back. I guess this was just after first year, and I loved it. I absolutely really liked the style, but I haven't read any Oscar Wilde stuff since. So I kind of feel like going and getting back into that now that I'm older and can appreciate it, kind of like the Shakespeare thing, like, or not the Shakespeare, sorry, the Lord of the Rings thing. Like, it took me a
Hmm.
long time to be able to appreciate the writing for what it was, because I can now understand and appreciate different writing styles, just having to read all these boring texts and things from,
Yeah.
history class or whatever in university. And like, one of the books that I absolutely hated, like, probably my most hated book, was Wuthering Heights, that I chose to read for English in grade 10 because whichever teacher it was said, okay, you have to pick a book and write a report on it. And I absolutely despised it. But I wonder now whether I'd have the same feeling about it. So it's kind of making me think about going back and trying some of those trickier reads. Um, I want to, yeah, read more fantasy because I kind of came to fantasy late in life ish. Like, all I
Hmm.
read for so many years was Harry Potter over and over again.
It's okay. It's a great
So,
read.
oh, it's a great read. There's great books, but that means that, oh, I love fantasy novels, but I've read like 10, and so I kind of feel like
Right,
I
right.
need to read more in general. Do you have any recommendations of good books that I should check out in general?
Mm, well, fantasy. I think the only one I read is Aragon
Yeah,
fantasy series.
yeah,
Let's see. I mean, I'm reading The Expanse,
yeah,
so that's sci-fi.
yeah.
I actually read this book, which is set in the Bronze Age.
Okay.
It's by a London author.
Oh,
It's called. What is it called? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like O Rope, Orope, The
okay.
White Snake. So it's pretty cool. I got the second book. I haven't read it yet. Let's see. Oh, I have The English Patient, which I started reading years ago.
English. I've heard of that.
It
Remind me
was,
what it's about.
I don't know, it was really boring. I stopped. But the thing is, I got it as a gift. Uh, and then I told that person I stopped reading it. It was really boring. And she was like really sad. So now I feel
Oh,
bad after years. So I feel like I have an obligation to read it.
just like I got through it, man. It's fine. Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to think. There was a point in time there too where I wanted, like, you know how some people like to collect, like, I've heard of this girl that I used to follow on social media ages ago. She was a book person who made videos about books on YouTube, and she her thing was to find different copies of The Hobbit specifically,
Mm.
and kind of like I found that the thing that I like to find different copies of is like the complete works of Shakespeare. So I think I have 3 in my bookshelf. It's kind of a really stupid thing, but whatever. So my plan for a while there was to just make sure that I read all of the Shakespeare plays because I haven't read all of them. So I think that's another thing that I want to try and do, but I haven't gotten there yet, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just talking about this, I'm just feeling overwhelmed because I cannot read every single book I have, so I'm gonna have to get rid of some of them at some point.
This is related, I promise. Have you ever seen the movie About Time?
Uh, I've seen In Time, but I don't think I've seen About Time.
Okay. About Time is a very charming movie. It's about this guy, Donald Gleason, who was like the evil general in the new Star Wars movies, the ginger guy. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
he's the lead in it, and it's got like oh crap, Bill Nighy and Rachel McAdams in it. Very charming movie. It's a sci-fi film. It's like it's a romance-ish type thing, but the
Huh?
guys in Donald Gleason's family line all can travel back in time in their life. And it's basically just a very nice story about, appreciating moments in life and all that kind of stuff. And like this guy learning how to approach life, even though he can move back in time, like within his own lifetime. And
Mm.
at one point, Bill Nighy's character, who's his dad, talks about, okay, well, like when he finds out that he can time travel, the dad, tells him about how he's lived his life. And the main guy asks, how have you spent your life? Like, what do you do with this ability? And he says, I just go back and read. I've read so many
Oh
books. And I'm like, all right. Yeah, that's valid. I would totally do that. Like, if you could just
yeah.
spend life going back in time and reading shit, like, smart. Anyway, that's my story. So there you go. Yeah,
Wow. That is
that'd be cool.
amazing.
If you could like go
You
into a bubble of time and just spend your time catching up on all the stuff so that you can absorb as much as you possibly can. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah, have a great summer of just reading and then just come back to that summer every couple of years.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot on my list. I think it's a good idea not to see them on my shelf because I feel bad every day looking at my shelf.
You
But
need to get a closing shelf. Just
yeah, yeah,
out of sight, out of mind until you feel the need to pick up a new one.
yeah. But yeah, there's a list of that. There's a list of growing TV shows to watch.
Yeah.
There's just a list of a lot of things to do. It's
I don't know.
too many shows, too many movies.
Oh, and it's
They're all
ironic.
awesome, but
Oh,
you can't watch all of them.
exactly. That's the problem is there's constantly more and more things to catch up on. Like when I was younger, my parents were quite conservative with what they let me watch. So like I wasn't allowed to watch Friends or The Simpsons because they deemed that inappropriate. Um,
Mm.
so to this day, I haven't seen Friends or The Simpsons. I've seen like an episode here and there or whatever, but like so many movies. Like I've seen the Titanic once, but that was years later because it wasn't allowed. And so often I'll have people say, "Hey, you haven't seen that?" Or like you I'm like, "No, like I wasn't allowed." And they're like, "Well, why haven't you seen it at this point?" And I'm like, "Because there's so much other shit that I have to watch."
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's more relevant now. Like it's too bad I don't know your references, but man, it's too much.
I still haven't seen The Lion King.
No,
I'm so
actually,
shocked.
Lion King is my absolute favorite Disney movie. So that hits deep here, man. No, the original cartoon version or the new one?
None of them.
Oh, you're hurting me, man. No, the
Wow.
Lion King is my favorite. So it's I can't really say anything without being super biased, but yeah.
Mm. Well, I've been going back and watching movies I haven't seen. So
Yeah.
just last year, I watched all the 9 Star Wars movies.
Okay.
just so I can finally understand what people are talking about.
I haven't seen all of them either. I've seen most of the new ones,
Yeah.
and I believe episode 5 and 6, but I haven't seen the first 4 episodes.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like you always, at least in school, you're always talking about movies and books and shows, but like out at work and it doesn't really come up that often.
Yeah.
So at some point, just watching the shows and movies is going to be, I don't know, is it even necessary anymore? Not right now, obviously, but
Well,
you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, I think like there are certain ones that come up because they're all over like social media and things. Like whenever that was, I guess at the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was watching Tiger King. It's like, okay, it's immediately relevant right
Oh
now,
yeah.
so you better watch it right now. But if you watch it late, then no one cares, which is kind of
Oh yeah.
silly. Like I feel like one of the only shows that was really consistently relevant and kind of is still relevant to a degree was like Game of Thrones
Mm.
because it was around for so long. But no, it doesn't like it never comes up. It never comes up unless it's in little small talk. And how often does that happen?
This
Unless it's
is this is the reason.
just came out. Like same thing happened with what was that Queen's Gambit or something recently. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, everyone was talking about it. It's just like okay.
Well, this is the reason to do conversational podcast episodes to talk about things like these. Because outside of this, I'm not talking to anybody about
Well,
TV shows
exactly.
and movies.
Yeah, no.
I'm just trying to convince my sister to watch a movie or not watch a movie. That's basically it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I don't know. Speaking of, did you so you have Disney Plus, I think you said?
Yeah.
Did you watch the new Pixar one, Soul?
It's on my list. How is it?
It was really good. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming more critical of like kids movies now or something. It doesn't go as deep as I thought it was going to in a weird way. In some ways it does, but in some ways I think I was expecting it to go deeper, but I really enjoyed it. It's very well done and it's the music cuz my mom and I was watching it with my parents and we watched all of like the special behind the scenes stuff that they included with it. I don't think they do that super often anymore, but who the music on the show with Stephen Colbert is the guy who does the best. So that's a tidbit to hear.
Oh,
No, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I would suggest to check it out because you'll probably get a little kick out of
okay.
it. But yeah, it was cute.
Okay. So I just got a message on Zoom saying my internet connection is unstable. So I don't
Oh,
know. It might just cut out any second, but it might be okay.
all right.
Um, that guy's John Baptiste.
Yes, thank you. I always forget his name. No, he does a great job. I think he composed and performed all of the music in the film.
Oh wow, yeah, that guy seems pretty cool. Just from the Colbert Show, like
Oh
just a
yeah,
cool guy.
just a cool guy. And like the interviews that they did with him after, or I guess that they put after the show that you can watch, he just seems so down to earth.
Yeah,
Like he's so well known, but at the same time, you could just walk down the road and he seems like the kind of dude that you could just like happen upon a coffee shop and have a cool conversation with. And, like, no big deal.
hmm
So yeah, no, it's a good show. And I also watched Onward, I think it's called, earlier this
Oh yeah,
year.
okay.
Did you
I
watch
haven't
that one?
seen it.
Yeah.
No.
It was kind of funny because it was shortly after I started watching Critical Role, and like the movie is basically a Disney version of two brothers doing a real life Dungeons and Dragons thing. And like in the movie, they talk about a game that's basically Dungeons and Dragons. So like the timing on that was ironic, but it was really cute too. Yeah, I haven't
That's
been
good.
watching much on the Disney Channel. I have access to it too, but like I said, I've been kind of sticking to the same thing. So yeah.
Well, WandaVision comes out tomorrow. If you want something random you've never heard of, it's there.
I might take a look. I still have to watch the second season of Mandalorian too, so I'll get there too.
Oh, man, I have to watch. Well, I would like to watch that. I haven't watched any of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I, like
yeah.
you, haven't seen all of the Star Wars. I guess you just recently watched all the Star Wars stuff, but like Star Wars is like, it's good, but it doesn't catch me the same way some other stuff does. But The Mandalorian, I absolutely loved. So I don't know. There's something about it that's just really, I don't even know if it's unique. It's just, I really enjoyed the show. It's very well done. So that might be one that
You know,
kind of grabs your attention.
a lot of shows that everyone was watching at the time, and I heard a lot about without seeing it. I've never seen them just
Yeah.
because, like, okay, let me just go through a list, and you can hold your shock for a few seconds.
All right.
So I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Okay.
Never seen Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Never seen The Queen's Gambit.
Yep.
No Tiger King.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that come to mind. But
Yeah.
it's like I feel like it would be good to watch it now because the hype is over. But
That's the thing
then
about
like
that.
there are like so many seasons. I don't want to commit to 5 or 9 seasons, you know?
Yeah, that's true. And like some of it just doesn't speak to different people, you know? Like I totally get it. I'm trying to think. I think too, the hype really can ruin it. I can't remember what it was that everyone was watching and everyone was saying such good things about it. And I'm sitting here going, okay, this is fine, but you hyped it up way too much. I just can't enjoy it the way that you want to because I've been hearing nothing but this for so long that I think it's this masterpiece. And then you get there and you're like,
Right.
oh, okay, it's fine. But I don't know. Teach their own, right? Like that's the problem with the binging ability is you get obsessed with it really quick, like we were saying, and then you just drop it. You forget about it. You know, it's no big deal.
Well,
But like,
I really binged hard when I got into The Walking Dead.
oh yeah.
They had just finished season 6, and before season 7 came out, I think it was before season 7 came out, I was with a friend, and then she just put on the first episode. I was like, this show is amazing. And then we watched 2 more episodes. And then I think I watched 6 seasons in like a month or two. It was ridiculous.
Oh, I know. It can get you. That's the thing. It's nice to have that ability, but it can also be a lot at once. Here.
Yeah.
I will be right back. Just give me 1 minute, okay?
Sure.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay, my apologies. I have returned.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, Walking Dead is one that, like, I found that there were quite a few shows that I started to pick up and then other shit was happening, so I had to stop. Like, Parks and Rec was one, Walking Dead was one, where, like, I think I started watching it right before I was going into, like, exam season or something. And I knew that, okay, if I get too into this, I'm not going to be studying. So, you know, I think I've watched most of the first season of Walking Dead. Same thing with Parks and Rec and like a few other shows, and I just haven't gone back to them yet, but I keep meaning to. I think Walking Dead, I started trying to watch it again, and then it got taken off of Netflix or something. So that bummed me out. But
that's interesting. Yeah, I think it's there. It was there like a year ago.
Yeah, I think that's when I started trying. I think I need to double check again, but I don't know. I know I've heard of this thing where like Netflix will restrict what each user can see, probably based on the kind of stuff that you watch. So one person could search for one show that's definitely on there, and someone else could search for that show and never find it. I don't know why it does this. Yeah, I remember hearing about that a while ago, and so like a friend of mine last week actually was trying to find what was the show? A show on Netflix that we had watched literally the day before.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to show it to another friend of theirs, and that person couldn't find it on their account. Oh, it was The Witcher. They were trying to find The Witcher, and for some reason they couldn't find The Witcher, even though we had just watched it. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't make any sense. So I don't really know, but
Oh,
that
yeah,
might be a thing that's going on with me because it was there for a
absolutely.
while, and then I haven't been able to find it. So we need to check
Huh. Well, if you don't want to binge, then you probably don't want to watch that because it's very bingeable.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I got nothing to lose. I'll binge, no big deal. But yeah.
Okay. But you're literally committing to hundreds of hours, hundreds of hours, or tens of hours of episodes. It's
Honestly, that's fine. Like with me watching Critical Role, I don't think anything phases me anymore because usually
Mhm.
when you play D&D, you're playing for multiple hours at once. So like one episode of Critical Role, for example, is between 3.5 and 5 hours. And like,
Jeez.
yeah, I have watched already. So the way that it works is it's in campaigns. I don't know if you know much about D&D, but like a campaign is like multiple encounters and story arcs until they decide to either end it or the entire party dies, which is a bit morbid, but whatever. So with Critical Role, they're on their second campaign, but their first campaign, there are 118 episodes. And now I'm
Holy.
on, yeah, and I think I'm on episode 80 something of the second campaign. Like, and I started this about a year ago. So I am not someone to shy away from time sinks. That's fine by me.
Wait, so people watch these voice actors play Dungeons and Dragons for 118 episodes, which I'm guessing is over 200 hours or
Oh,
300
it's
hours.
an insane amount of hours. It's a lot. And like, yeah, like what's I think fascinating about it for me is that it's all improvised. Like there's a
Okay.
dungeon master who's basically like the narrator and leading the story and playing any NPCs that they encounter or anything. And then the party is the same. And so the dungeon master will set up different encounters and situations and whatever that sometimes dovetail into one another and affect each other. And the players are essentially just reacting to and trying to navigate their way through this fantasy world.
Mhm.
Um, and so, like, because they're actors, there are some moments where they get into some really actual heartfelt scenes or like intense things or really, really funny shit that they're doing like as characters to play pranks on one another. So, like, there's actually a lot, I don't know, that I find really interesting about it. And then, like, it gave me the interest to actually start playing the game. And because I watched it, I kind of understood some of the game components, which is helpful. But yeah, it's certainly unique. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. It's nerdy as fuck, let's be honest. Um, but no, it's just kind of it's cool to see as well because they're all such good friends. Like I think there's I don't know, like there's two married couples within the group themselves, but like some of the characters fall in love with one another, have crushes on one another, and it's hilarious because there's this one couple where in the first campaign, um, the wife's character fell in love with one of their other friends' characters, and
Mhm.
the husband Travis is like the biggest supporter of this relationship in game, and it's just hilarious to watch all the reactions that each of the people have watching all the other stuff going on and like how they deal with certain situations. Just watching the interactions is fascinating. I don't know, it's just a very unique kind of entertainment, you know. But
Yeah.
it's kind of insane that people will sit there every week and watch 4 hours in a row of these people playing their game. Like watching people streaming, like we were talking about earlier, that's one thing that I find bizarre
Yeah.
because I just don't understand it a lot of the time the way that most streamers do it. But watching people play a tabletop game, it's like if you're going to sit there and watch someone play Catan, like it's kind of a
Mhm.
strange idea, but I guess the nature of Dungeons and Dragons makes it more accessible because you're building a story in the moment. So I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
People are weird.
That's a good way to summarize all that. People
Yeah,
are weird.
humans are very bizarre.
Like I'll watch hours and hours of podcasts, just two people talking about dumb stuff
Yep.
for no reason.
Yep.
Oh man.
Because we're just inclined to connect to one another, which is a good thing. Like, I don't know. Human interaction, man. Learning from one another and talking about stuff. I think that's why, like, I used to listen to the radio at home a lot. My parents always have the radio on. And when I
Yeah.
first moved into this apartment, I haven't checked in a long time, but the radio signal just wasn't very good in here, so I wouldn't listen to stuff. But like growing up, I don't know if you've ever heard of Stuart McLean, but like he was this
Is he a
Canadian
CBC
guy.
guy?
I guess he was on CBC, but he actually had his own show. Um,
Oh.
and he passed a number of years ago, unfortunately. But he essentially every Sunday at noon had this show where he would tell stories, and you could, as a person, a listener, write in and convey your own story of something that happened in your life. But he would just tell these stories about hilarious things that happened in this family, or like touching things or sad things. And
Mhm.
like every Sunday, we would be listening to that 12 o'clock on Sunday. And I don't know, just listening about either made up things or real things was just kind of an interesting family kind of get together thing. And like, that's why you listen to radio show hosts and podcasts and all this kind of stuff. It's just a unique way of sharing the human experience, I guess.
Yeah, stories are very compelling because whether they're fiction or not, it's you can always take something out of it, whether it's a moral
Mm-hmm.
or like for me, the best stories are um, like how does someone become a success, or how do they go from success to failure, or you just read about someone's life, and it's the weirdest thing is no matter how good your story is, you can never convey what it was like to be you. But
Right.
how close can you get?
Huh.
It seems like it's like one of those things that you're never going to be 100% accurate. There's always going to be some kind of bias, but
Yeah.
how are you going to write the story? What do you want people to get out of it? It's one of those unresolvable phenomenons in the world that constantly keeps me engaged.
Oh, totally.
You
Like,
know,
that's
um,
the thing. I've got a couple friends who have a knack for just talking to strangers. Like, one of them will go to like a bar or whatever and just go to work but engage with people every single time he would go there, obviously before the pandemic, like meet a new person and like build a crazy rapport or friendship with someone that just literally happened to be sitting next to them at that time. You can get on a
yeah.
conversation with people about anything. And a couple times I've gone and like gone with this person to that bar or that restaurant or whatever where this happens. And it's just fascinating because it's like, okay, you're just having a normal conversation with a person, but how you start out that conversation to get to the levels of depth that he ends up getting later on, it's like, what the fuck? You just met this person, but you're talking about these really deep things. It's like, wow. I don't know. I find it fascinating. I think the power of words is awesome
Yeah,
because
see, I can do that, but I think it's the context, like where
yeah,
you are. If you're comfortable where you are, I think it's really easy to start conversations.
yeah,
So if I'm in a library, specifically one library here in London, I think I was just there. a year ago or so, before the lockdowns and everything.
Hmm.
I was just waiting for my mom to finish up something in the mall,
Yeah.
and there was a puzzle, so I just started working on the puzzle. This old woman just sat in front of me. We're both working on the puzzle. At that time, we didn't really say much, but that's a spot where I'm comfortable. You take me to a library,
Yeah.
you can talk to anybody.
Oh,
But take me to a bar, I'm just like, I don't. This is a foreign environment for me. You know,
yeah. No, I hear you. It's just about finding the place where you're not worried about anything. You can just be you, and you're fine. Like, it's interesting how we all have our own safe spaces, but I never really thought
and
about that before. Yeah, it's a good point.
buses or trains are also good places to talk to people because
Everyone's
you're
just like,
stuck with them.
yeah,
But the problem is sometimes you don't want to talk to someone, but they just keep talking and you can't. How do you say let's not talk anymore?
oh, I know I've been there. Like, in Toronto on the subway before they had the subways that were like completely open on the inside with no separation between the cars. Before then, you wanted to like avoid someone, just get off, go to the next car. But now it's like, okay, I'm just gonna keep walking and hope this person doesn't follow me or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Not follow in like a scary way, but
Right.
yeah, a lot of interesting people in transit, that's for sure. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, like when I was in theater school, there was this acting exercise that we did. There was technique, but it was bullshit. It was a unique exercise where the teacher would set up some furniture as if you were in a specific location, like a doctor's office, like a library, or a subway or whatever. And the whole exercise was to learn how to be idle and to be like a normal person in a regular situation without it looking like you're trying to do something. It's just you. And like, whatever happens as you interact with the other people in the scene happens. And it's like you're interacting with strangers. And crazy shit happens because crazy shit happens in places like this. You have no idea what's going to happen when the next person walks up to you, who you're going to meet, what kind of
Right.
conversation you're going to have, any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And that sounds a lot like I took improv classes for a while.
Oh, you
Uh,
did? How long ago
yeah,
did
I
you?
was I was working in Perth and I took the classes in Ottawa. So
Oh,
I think it must have been in 2016, 17, I think.
oh,
But
nice.
I went to half the classes because some days I just didn't want to drive to Ottawa just for the class. It was an hour drive and it was
Oh,
winter,
yeah.
so but it was really fun. Like
Yeah.
because you have to build on what the person is your partner is doing,
The whole
and
yes and thing.
the yes and yeah, that's the first thing they teach you. So
Yep.
I think that was fun. And then the best part was like the biggest laugh you get is a throwaway comment that you're just like, oh, obviously she says if she's talking about bears, I'm just gonna growl and go ah, and then the whole class is laughing. I'm like, what did I do? You know?
Oh my God. Yeah, improv. I was always so bad at improv. I just still don't think I'm very good at improv, but I feel like taking improv classes would be so much fun. Like
Always.
just being ridiculous, being as ridiculous as possible. I remember seeing this video that I think was like, I don't know if it was an improv class or a presentation or a show or something, but like everyone's in stitches. And then especially like the comedy and the bigger things like movies or plays or whatever that come from someone just doing improv together. Like, oh man,
Mhm.
it's so much fun. Anyway, I'm just going on a tangent. But
Well, the thing that's what it's weird because in improv, you're allowed to be ridiculous, say things that don't make sense, and you have to make it fit into a story. But
yeah.
if you do it as a show or a movie, it works sometimes, but when it doesn't work, it's like this is some garbage comedy here.
Or it's almost like secondhand embarrassment where you're sitting here going, oh God.
So
Like
it's
I
like,
didn't
yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just weird because like what is a comedy movie? Like you're writing something that you think people will be funny, but there's no audience there in the moment.
Right.
And if you want to do something that's not standard jokes, then either it's going to be really terrible
Yeah.
or it's going to be really amazing. But
Yeah.
in improv, as long as you follow the rules of building on stuff, even if you mess up, people laugh. It's a great time.
Oh, exactly. Like I haven't watched Whose Line Is It Anyway in a long time, but the other day I was inspired to watch a couple videos and just it's so simple, but it brings so much joy. Just okay, scenes from a hat. Someone says do a silly thing. Let's go ahead and do it. Or like make up some lyrics on the spot. It's just priceless. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I love that show. Like also thinking of a I guess it's improv movie. Like I watched Bruno for the first time a couple months ago. Like, and I
I've
think it's
seen that.
the new one had just come out, and so I wanted to watch Bruno, but I'd never seen it before. So watch both of them, and when I was watching it, I was watching it with my friend, who like 10 minutes into the movie was like, by the way, you know that the Americans that he's dealing with don't know he's an actor, right? And it blew my fucking mind and made the thing so much better because
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sitting here going like, these people think that he's an absolute nut job. But as the audience watching just this insanity happen in front of our eyes with people who are just trying to deal with this very strange man was priceless. And the stuff that they have to do, like especially in the second one, is just oh my god, it's insane. It's funny and it's like, you know, sad in a way as well, but like, oh man.
Are you talking about Borat or
Borat,
Bruno?
not
Okay.
Borat. Fuck, not Bruno. Borat. Good lord. Sorry.
Yeah. The yeah, man. I don't know how Sacha Baron Cohen does it, but he's so good at what he does. It's unreal. You
It's
can
ridiculous.
I that's it that must be acting. Like that's real life acting. How do you do that? It's crazy.
Well, and like, I don't know if you saw the subsequent movie film,
I did.
but oh my god, I was reading so many articles after that because of the whole Rudy Giuliani thing, trying to
Yeah.
figure out what the like how the fuck they were able to do that shit, which is but you know, I think I came across an interview or an article where they quoted him, you know, asking like, okay, well, at this point you've reached a certain level of fame. Like anyone who sees you, he's a pretty notable person. You would recognize him if you knew who he was. So how to go about making it so that people wouldn't recognize him? And the fact that they were still able to pull that off and he was able to fool these people, even though he's a famous person, into thinking that he was legit doing what he was doing in those moments was just like props to him, man. Like he's insane, insanely good. But like, wow, that takes some balls, especially that chick too. I don't know who she is, but like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, the most cringy moment was when they're in the ballroom scene right at the end. I was I was not I would never expect that it was like
Oh, I know. And like, how much do you think my daughter is worth? How much would you pay me for my
oh
daughter?
my god.
Like, oh god, it's just so bad. But wow, shows
The
shows the state of certain societies. Oh my god, it's just
the
insane.
best part was uh that man's daughter and she just like gave him the dirtiest look. I don't remember what she said, but it was like it was just filled with hatred and
I
disgust.
think she just said that's disgusting or something like
Yeah.
that. And then, oh, the doctor, after they go to the doctor, but there's a baby inside me. And the doctor's like, well, we don't have to worry about that now. Well, we like, it
Oh,
doesn't matter
so
if
good.
it's your father's. It's like, oh my
Oh my
God,
god.
this doctor's saying this. Like,
Oh
what
my god.
the fuck? Oh man. I need to
Do
rewatch
you
that now.
do you think they filmed that doctor scene before or after the cupcake scene where she actually ate the little baby? Because I thought about that. Like
Hmm.
I guess it would be after.
I guess so. Like, this is the question. Like, how much of the plot was influenced by how the people were reacting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, did they have to go scene by scene just in case something that a actual real life person said to be able to readjust the next one? Or like, I don't know. I really don't know because it just fits so well with everything that happened. I don't know. I really,
That's why it's next level, because
it's
I'm
just,
sure they must have reiterated a bunch of stories, and
oh yeah.
like you're just like jigsaw pieces. You're trying to make it fit.
Or like how many different places they had to go to get the reactions they wanted. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Like try it out on this person. Okay, well that person reacted much more like not okay with this. Got to find someone else who's going to give us the actual like unfortunate fucked up reaction that they got that ends up going in the movie. Like
And some of the things were just dumb, but I thought they were great.
yeah.
When Borat and his daughter are at this clothing shop, and she comes out wearing the bag.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
By selling them the cages.
"Oh
Like
yeah, will it?" He asked, "Like, is it good? Will it fit my daughter or something like, ridiculous like that?"
a cage for me. It's like, oh my god.
Oh
And
my
the
God.
guy's just fine with it. I'm sitting here going, what the fuck is oh man, I don't how many children cages do you sell per day, guy?
But the weirdly touching moment was when Borat tells his daughter she doesn't have to sleep in the cave. I was so confused. I was like, should I? Is this okay to feel like this is a nice moment because
Right.
she's coming from a cage, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Or like that woman that um was babysitting
Oh yeah,
her about the surgery, like the plastic surgery. I
oh
think
yeah.
that woman was real. I don't think she was a plant,
No, no. She seemed like really invested in her not going through with that surgery.
right? And like, there's good people in the world, man. Makes me happy. That was cool.
I wonder who came up with that story that she had that book about uh what is it like
Oh yeah. Um.
like if she did I can't remember the plot anymore, but she was like if she did something then this is what's going to happen, or
Yeah.
that
Wasn't
was
it
a
about?
ridiculous story.
Oh, it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, okay, this is a children's story where I come from, and the woman was just horrified. Oh man.
And then she learns it's not true, and she's
Yeah.
like telling her dad, I know it's not true. He's like, what? He can't believe it. He thinks it's real.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just
Man.
unbelievable. Like a, a brilliant, brilliant movie. And like
Yeah.
obviously when it came out, this is one of these movies that I was not allowed to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like literally probably 2 or 3 months ago. And just understanding the context now, I wouldn't have known that context way back when, but like, oh man, just so good. It's a fucked up movie, but it's fucked up for so many different reasons than I assumed it was, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Man,
so funny. So bad. God.
that guy's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should call it a day.
Because we've been talking for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
We're
been
gonna get to you. You have a hard stop at 7, but that's cool. I'm down to
yeah.
call it.
Okay.